I am writing this from my living room, surrounded by cardboard boxes that contain the last 10 years of my professional life. My wife is in the kitchen making tea, trying to pretend she isn't worried about the mortgage, but I can hear the way she sets the kettle down, too gently. She is walking on eggshells. I am a 45-year-old man who just lost a director-level position at a logistics firm I helped build from the ground up. I didn't lose it because I was incompetent. I didn't lose it because of the economy. I lost it because I decided to be a human being instead of a boss. I lost it because I saw potential in a kid named Silas, caught him stealing from the company, and instead of ending his career, I gave him a tissue and a second chance. Yesterday, Silas moved into my office. He didn't even look me in the eye when security escorted me out. If you are reading this and you manage people, let this be your warning. Empathy is a luxury you cannot afford when you are dealing with a sociopath who knows how to weaponize your own kindness against you. To understand how I ended up here, you have to understand the culture of our company, Apex Logistics. We are high volume, high stress. We handle shipping for massive retail chains. If a truck breaks down in Nevada, I get a phone call at 3 in the morning. If a shipment of electronics goes missing in the Atlantic, my weekend is over. It is a grinder. People burn out here in 6 months. I survived 10 years because I knew how to manage stress and, more importantly, I knew how to manage people. I was the good boss. The one who remembered your kids' birthdays. The one who approved time off without asking for a death certificate. The one who actually trained you instead of throwing you into the fire. Silas joined my team 3 years ago. He was 26, sharp, dressed better than anyone else on the floor, and hungry. He had that specific kind of energy you only see in people who are desperate to escape their background. He grew up poor, he told me during his interview, and he was determined to be a millionaire by 30. I respected the hustle. In this industry, you need sharks, but you need sharks that can work in a pack. Silas was perfect. He absorbed information like a sponge. Within 3 months, he was outperforming senior account managers. He had a charm that disarmed angry clients. I remember a situation where we lost an entire crate of luxury watches. The client was screaming, threatening legal action, ready to pull a contract worth $2 million a year. I put Silas on the phone. 20 minutes later, the client was laughing. Not only did we keep the contract, but they also expanded their service with us. I looked at him and saw a younger version of myself. I decided to take him under my wing. I mentored him. I showed him the high-level financials. I taught him how to negotiate rates with carriers. I invited him to lunch. We talked about life. He told me about his sick mother, how he was paying for her treatments, how much pressure he was under. I felt for the kid. I knew what it was like to carry a family on your back. 8 months into his employment, the incident happened. It was a Friday evening. I stayed late to finish the quarterly budget projections. Most of the office had cleared out by 5, heading to the bar down the street. The lights were dimmed. I was going through the expense reports for the travel accounts. We issue corporate credit cards to our account managers for client dinners, travel, and incidental expenses. Usually, I just sign off on them because I trust my team. But that night, I was looking for a specific discrepancy in the overall department spend, so I was auditing the individual lines. I pulled up Silas's file. At first, nothing looked wrong. Dinners at steakhouses, Uber rides, flight upgrades. All standard stuff for a high-performer entertaining clients. Then I saw a charge for a hotel in Miami. It was dated for a weekend 2 months prior. I checked the calendar. Silas didn't have any client meetings in Miami that weekend. He had requested those days off as personal time. I dug deeper. I cross-referenced his receipts with his client interaction logs. A dinner at a 5-star Italian place in Chicago, listed as client dinner with Target Republic. I checked the CRM. The Target rep was based in Seattle that week. An purchase of electronics, 2 high-end laptops, listed as office supplies for remote setup. We supply all hardware through IT. Account managers don't buy laptops. I spent the next 3 hours going through 6 months of his history. It wasn't just a mistake. It was systematic. He was using the corporate card to fund a luxury lifestyle. Weekend getaways, high-end clothes disguised as client gifts, electronics. The total came to just under $15,000. My stomach dropped. This wasn't petty cash. This was grand larceny. This was immediate termination and legal action. My hands were shaking as I printed the documents. I felt betrayed, obviously, but more than that, I felt sick for him. I knew the policy. If I reported this to HR, they wouldn't just fire him. They would press charges. He would have a criminal record. His career would be over. The narrative of the poor kid trying to make it would end in a jail cell or, at best, a permanent black mark that would ensure he never worked in a corporate office again. I sat there in the dark office, staring at the stack of papers. I thought about his sick mother. I thought about the potential I saw in him. I thought about how hard he worked. The door to the office opened. It was Silas. He had come back because he forgot his car keys. He froze when he saw me. He saw the papers on my desk. He saw the look on my face. He knew. He didn't run. He didn't get angry. He walked into my office, closed the door, and sat down. Then he started to cry. It wasn't a loud, sobbing cry. It was a silent, terrified weeping. He told me everything. He told me the medical bills were higher than he let on. He told me he got into debt trying to keep up appearances because he thought he had to look rich to be respected in this job. He told me he intended to pay it all back before the end of the fiscal year. He begged me not to call the police. He begged me not to ruin his life. "I will do anything," he said, his voice cracking. "I will work for free. I will pay back every cent. Please, Mark. You know who I am. Don't let one mistake define my entire life." I looked at him. I saw a terrified kid. I remembered being 26 and terrified of failing. I made the worst decision of my life. "Okay," I said. I told him the conditions. He had to pay back the money. Every cent. We would set up a payment plan, but it had to be off the books. I would cover the discrepancy in the budget using my discretionary fund, and he would pay me back in cash, which I would then deposit back into the company account as vendor refunds or miscellaneous adjustments. It was messy accounting, bordering on fraud itself to cover the tracks, but I could make it work. "If you ever step out of line again," I told him, "if you steal so much as a paperclip, I will burn you. Do you understand?" He nodded, wiping his eyes. He grabbed my hand and shook it. "Thank you. You saved my life. I will never forget this. I will be the best employee you have ever seen." For the next year, he was exactly that. He was a machine. He was the first one in the office and the last one to leave. His numbers skyrocketed. He paid me back on the first of every month, an envelope of cash that I immediately processed back into the company coffers to balance the books. He was humble. He was helpful. He mentored the new hires. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a steely determination. We became close. Closer than before. We shared a secret. That bond creates a false sense of intimacy. I felt like a father figure. I was proud of him. I watched him redeem himself. I told myself I had done the right thing. I had saved a young man from destruction and created a loyal soldier. I thought I was playing 4D chess, cultivating loyalty that money couldn't buy. Then the promotion opportunity came up. The VP of Operations was retiring. It was between me and an external candidate. I was the clear favorite. I had the numbers, the tenure, and the team. If I got the VP spot, my director position would open up. Silas came to my office. "I think you're going to get it, Mark," he said, smiling. "And when you do, I want to apply for your role." "You're a bit young for director, Silas," I said gently. "Usually they want 5 years of management experience." "I know," he said. "But I have the best numbers in the company. And I have you. If you vouch for me, if you tell them I'm ready, they'll listen." He was right. I had significant pull. If I championed him, he would get the job. "Let's get me the VP spot first," I said. "Then we'll talk." The shift began subtly. It started about a month before the VP decision was due. Small things started going wrong. A report I sent to the executive board had an error in the Excel formulas. It made our quarterly losses look double what they actually were. I was embarrassed in the meeting. I checked the file later. I could have sworn I checked it 3 times, but there the error was. I assumed I was just tired. Then, I missed a critical meeting with a key vendor. The invite was on my calendar, but the time was wrong. It said 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The meeting was actually 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I missed the call. The vendor was insulted. I had to do immense damage control. When I checked the invite again, it had been modified by my assistant. When I asked her, she looked confused and said Silas had told her the time changed. Silas denied it, saying he must have misunderstood the email. I let it slide. Accidents happen. But the atmosphere in the office started to change. I could feel it. When I walked into the break room, conversations would stop. People would look down at their phones. I felt a distance growing between me and my team. One day, I took a junior account manager, Sarah, out for coffee. She was a sweet girl, honest to a fault. "Sarah," I said, "is something going on? The team feels off." She hesitated. She looked nervous. "It's just, people are worried," she said. "Worried about what?" "About the investigation," she said. I froze. "What investigation?" She looked like she had said too much. Silas. Silas mentioned that corporate is looking into the department financials. He said he was trying to protect you, but he was worried you might get fired. My blood ran cold. Why would Silas say that? He said, "Look, Mark, I shouldn't say this. But he said you've been having money troubles. That you were moving funds around. He said you asked him to cover for you." I sat there, my coffee turning cold in my hand. The audacity was breathtaking. He wasn't just spreading rumors. He was projecting his own crime onto me. He was planting the seeds of doubt before he made his move. I went straight back to the office. I was furious. I was going to drag him into a room and scream at him until the windows rattled. I was going to expose everything. I stormed toward his desk, but he wasn't there. My boss, the current VP, called me into his office. "Mark, sit down," he said. His face was grim. The HR director, a woman named Linda who I had known for years, was sitting in the corner. She wouldn't look at me. "What's going on?" I asked, though I already knew. "We received a formal whistleblower complaint," the VP said, "regarding financial irregularities in your department. Specifically regarding the misuse of discretionary funds and vendor kickbacks." "That is ridiculous," I said. "You know me. I've been here 10 years. "We have evidence, Mark," Linda said softly. She slid a folder across the desk. I opened it. Inside were copies of the cash deposits I had made into the company account. The ones Silas gave me to pay back what he stole. Highlighted next to them were email threads. The emails were from Silas to me. Subject: payment regarding the Miami trip body. Mark, here is the cash you asked for from the vendor refund. I'm uncomfortable handling this off the books, but I trust you. Please confirm receipt. Subject: discretionary fund adjustment body. Mark, providing the cash per your request to balance the ledger. I hope this fixes the issue you mentioned. I stared at the papers. I never received these emails, I said. He never sent these. They were in your inbox, Linda said. And you replied to them. She turned the page. There were replies. From my account. Thanks, Silas. Good work. Keep this between us. Received. Don't worry about the accounting, I'll handle it. My head was spinning. I realized then how deep this went. He had my passwords. I had given them to him months ago when I was on vacation so he could handle urgent approvals. I never changed them. He had been logging into my account, sending emails to himself, and then deleting them from my sent folder, archiving them on his end. He had been building a paper trail for a year. This is a setup, I said, my voice rising. Silas is the one who stole the money. He used the corporate card. I caught him. I let him pay it back because I felt sorry for him. These deposits are his repayments. The VP looked at me with pity. Mark, come on. Why would a junior employee have $15,000 in cash to pay back company expenses? And if he stole it, why didn't you report it? Why did you hide it? Because I was trying to give him a second chance. I shouted. Or, Linda said, you were using him to funnel money out, and he got scared and started documenting it. Look at the credit card statements. I demanded. The charges are in his name. We looked, the VP said. Silas says you forced him to make those charges. He says you told him to buy the laptops for you, to book the flights for you. He says you threatened to fire him if he didn't use his card to cover your expenses. And here is the recording, Linda said. She placed a digital recorder on the desk and pressed play. It was my voice. It was from the night I confronted him. But it was edited. Or taken out of context. Voice of Silas, sounding scared. Mark, I can't do this anymore. It's too much money. If they catch us. Voice of me, if you step out of line, if you steal so much as a paperclip, I will burn you. Do you understand? Voice of Silas, I understand. I'll get the money. Voice of me, it has to be off the books, messy accounting, but I can make it work. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. He had recorded our conversation. He had manipulated the context. He had staged the questions to get the answers he needed, knowing I was talking about his theft, but making it sound like I was threatening him into complicity. This is manipulated, I whispered. He was crying. He was begging me. It sounds pretty clear to us, Mark, the VP said. You were coercing a subordinate to commit fraud. Where did he get the money to pay it back then? I asked. If I was stealing, why was money going back in? Silas claims he took out personal loans to pay you off because you were threatening to frame him for the theft if he didn't cover the shortage, Linda explained. He provided bank statements showing loan disbursements corresponding to the cash dates. It was a masterclass. It was perfect. He had anticipated every defense I would have. I want a forensic audit, I said. Check the IP addresses on the emails. Check the metadata. We are doing an investigation, the VP said. But Mark, the evidence is overwhelming. And the breach of policy alone, admitting you handled cash off the books, admitting you didn't report irregularities, is enough for termination with cause. I was suspended pending the investigation. I was escorted out of the building. Silas wasn't at his desk when I walked by. He was smart enough to avoid the visual. I spent the next 2 weeks meeting with lawyers. They told me it was grim. Without proof that he hacked my email, which IT couldn't definitively prove since he had my password, it was my word against a mountain of documentation. The recording was the nail in the coffin. In a right-to-work state, I was toast. I tried to reach out to people on the team. No one would talk to me. Sarah sent me a brief text, "I'm sorry, Mark. I can't be involved." Then came the final blow. I received a termination letter via courier. Cause, gross misconduct, embezzlement, and harassment. They weren't pressing criminal charges if I signed a release agreeing not to sue for wrongful termination. It was a grace they were offering me given my 10 years of service. If I fought it, they would go to the police. I sat in my kitchen and stared at the paper. If I went to court, the recording would be played. The emails would be shown. I would look like a monster who bullied a young employee into fraud. I would lose my house paying legal fees. I would never work again. I signed the paper. 2 days later, I saw the announcement on LinkedIn. Apex Logistics is proud to announce Silas Vane as our new acting director of operations. The post had hundreds of likes. Comments from my old team, well deserved. Great leader. So happy for you. I scrolled through his profile. He had posted a long, humble status update about overcoming adversity, about standing up for integrity, about how hard leadership is. It was sickening. It was beautiful in its evil. I started drinking. Not a lot, just enough to numb the rage. I replayed every interaction we had. I looked for the signs. They were there. The way he watched me when I typed my password. The way he asked specific questions about how audits worked. The way he always wanted everything in writing unless it was the one conversation he recorded. He hadn't just stolen money. He had stolen my life. He had stolen my reputation. But here is the thing about sociopaths. They don't stop. They can't stop. The thrill isn't the job. The thrill is the game. And Silas was now in a position where the game was much bigger, and the stakes were much higher. I knew he wouldn't be content with director. He wanted the VP spot. And to get that, he would have to pull the same stunts on a larger scale. I still had one card to play. It wasn't a legal card. It wasn't something I could take to HR. It was a knowledge card. When I was mentoring Silas, I showed him everything. But I didn't show him everything. There is a legacy system in our logistics software. A back-end database that tracks inventory adjustments. It's old DOS-based, and IT hates it, but we keep it because it connects to some of our oldest rail carriers. Most people don't know how to access it. I do. Silas knew it existed, but he didn't know that it creates a permanent, immutable log of every manual override of the inventory counts. He thought that by manipulating the financial spreadsheets and the modern CRM, he was covering his tracks. He thought that because he paid the money back, the theft was erased. But the inventory adjustments he made to hide the missing product, before he converted it to cash expenses, were logged in the legacy system. And because he did it under his own login credentials back then, before he had mine, his user ID was stamped on every single transaction. I couldn't use this to save my job. The narrative was already set. But I could use it to wait. I spent the last month unemployed, watching from the outside. I still have a friend in IT, a guy named Dave who thinks corporate politics are stupid and liked that I used to bring him donuts. Dave didn't know the details of my firing, just that I was gone. I met Dave for a beer. I didn't talk about the firing. I talked about the legacy system. Man, I worry about that old rail database, I said casually. If that thing crashes, the company is screwed. Does anyone even check the logs anymore? Nah, Dave laughed. It's a ghost town. As long as the trains run, we ignore it. You should probably archive it, I suggested. Just in case. Pull a full dump of the user logs for the last 3 years. Keep it safe. Good idea, Dave said. I knew Dave. He was diligent. He would pull the logs. He would see the anomalies. He would see thousands of dollars of inventory manually adjusted to zero by Silas Vane, with no corresponding damage reports. But I needed a trigger. Silas was smart. He wouldn't steal again immediately. He would be the model employee for 6 months, maybe a year. He would consolidate power. So, I decided to send a message. A specific kind of message. I still had the key to a storage unit the company rented for archiving old paper files. I wasn't supposed to have it, but I never turned it in. I went there last night. I found the box of files from 3 years ago. The physical hard copies of the bills of lading from the time of Silas's theft. I didn't steal them. I didn't destroy them. I simply pulled the specific sheets that corresponded to his phantom shipments, highlighted his signature, and left them on the very top of the pile in the very front of the box. Then, I mailed an anonymous letter to the external auditors who audit Apex once a year. The letter didn't accuse anyone. It simply said, discrepancies noted in rail inventory adjustments versus financials FI 2021 to 2022. Suggest cross-referencing legacy database logs with physical bills of lading in storage unit B12. The audit is next month. I won't get my job back. I know that. In the corporate world, once you are tainted, you are gone. Even if Silas goes down, I am the guy who let it happen. I am the guy who enabled it. I own that. My career at Apex is dead. But yesterday, as I was packing my box, Silas walked past the security guard to look at me. He stood in the doorway of my old office, his new office. He was wearing a new suit. He looked every inch the director. No hard feelings, Mark, he said. It's just business. You're good, Silas, I said. You're really good. I learned from the best, he smirked. You learned the business, I said. You didn't learn the infrastructure. He frowned, just for a second. A flicker of doubt. What does that mean? It means, I said, picking up my box, that you built your castle on a graveyard, and you forgot that bodies eventually float to the surface. I walked out. I am sitting here now, unemployed, $50,000 in debt from the lawyer consultations, and looking at a bleak future. My wife is scared. I am scared. But I am not hopeless. Because I know something Silas doesn't. I know that the external auditors are paid to find problems. I know that Dave in IT is dutiful. And I know that the legacy system never lies. Silas thinks he won because he took my chair. He thinks the game is over. He doesn't realize that the game has rules he never bothered to learn because he was too busy cheating. He reported me to HR. He took my position. He destroyed my reputation. But in about 4 weeks, when the auditors open that box and run that query, Silas is going to learn the most important lesson I ever tried to teach him, the one he ignored because he thought he was smarter than everyone else. Shortcuts always cost more in the end. I might be down, but I am going to watch him burn. And when the news breaks, when the fraud is exposed and the police actually do get involved, because external auditors have a legal obligation to report federal interstate commerce fraud, I will be the one sitting in the courtroom. Not as a defendant. As a witness. And when he looks at me, terrified and crying, begging for a second chance, I'm just going to look at him and say, it's just business. I'll update you all when the audit report drops. Until then, watch your back. The person you're helping up might just be looking for the best place to stick the knife. Update 1. I didn't expect this to blow up. Thank you for the support. A lot of you are asking why I didn't keep copies of the real receipts from the beginning. The answer is arrogance. I thought I was untouchable. I thought I was the benevolent king of my little kingdom. I never thought a kid I was buying lunch for would spend a year plotting my demise. That's on me. To answer a few questions. Why not confront him directly? Because he holds all the cards right now. He has the company's backing. Anything I say to him directly will be spun as harassment from a disgruntled ex-employee. Silence is my weapon now. Is your wife okay? She's tough. She's mad at me for being naive, but she knows I didn't steal. We are tightening our belts. I'm driving Uber to keep the cash flow moving while I look for consulting work. Are you sure the audit will catch him? The legacy system logs are hard-coded. You can't delete them without admin access to the mainframe, which only 2 people have, neither is Silas. He adjusted inventory counts to hide the theft of physical goods which he then sold or used. He fixed the money side with my cash, but he couldn't put the physical items back. The discrepancy exists in the weight logs. You can't fake the weight of a freight train. The math won't add up. I received a text message this morning from an unknown number. Enjoying retirement? Don't try anything stupid. I didn't reply. I just screenshotted it and emailed it to my lawyer. He's nervous. He felt the shift in the air when I made that comment about the infrastructure. He's probably tearing apart the office right now looking for what I left behind. He won't find it in the office. He won't find it in the files he has access to. He's looking for a trapwire in the hallway, but the bomb is in the foundation. I'll keep you posted. Update 2. It's been 3 weeks. The silence has been deafening. I've applied to about 20 jobs. 3 interviews, no offers. The industry is small. Word travels. Gross misconduct is a stain that doesn't wash out easily. I'm currently working part-time at a warehouse, driving a forklift. It's humbling. I used to run the division, now I'm moving pallets. But honestly, it clears my head. Physical work keeps the anxiety at bay. Yesterday, I got a call from Sarah, the junior account manager. She called me from a burner phone. She sounded terrified. "Mark," she whispered, "the auditors are here." And I asked, gripping the phone. They've been in Silas's office for 4 hours. The door is closed. The blinds are drawn. Is Silas in there? Yes. And the CEO. My heart hammered against my ribs. What's the mood, Sarah? It's bad. I walked past to get water. I heard shouting. I heard the CEO say federal offense. I closed my eyes and exhaled. Sarah, I said, do not talk to anyone. Do not get involved. Just do your work. Mark, did you know? Just do your work, Sarah. She hung up. I didn't sleep last night. I sat up watching the news, wondering if it would break. Nothing yet. These things take time. They have to verify everything. They have to build the case. But this morning, I checked Silas's LinkedIn. His profile is gone. Deleted. I checked the company directory on the public website. His name is removed from the leadership page. And then, about an hour ago, my phone rang. It was Linda from HR, the woman who handed me my termination letter. "Mark," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Hello, Linda. We need you to come in." "I don't work there anymore, Linda. You fired me." I know. Look, there has been a significant development. The auditors found some discrepancies that match the legacy data logs. The CEO wants to speak with you. I have nothing to say to the CEO. Mark, please. They are talking about a reinstatement. They are talking about a settlement. I laughed. It was a cold, dry sound. Reinstatement. I asked. After you dragged my name through the mud? After you let a thief take my chair? We didn't know, she pleaded. He had the documentation. He was so convincing. He was a con artist, Linda. And you were the mark. We were all the marks. Please. Just come in. We can fix this. I'll come in, I said. But not to talk about reinstatement. I'll come in to collect my personal belongings that I left behind. And I'll bring my lawyer. Okay. Okay, that's fine. And Linda? Yes. Where is Silas? There was a long pause. He was escorted out by federal agents an hour ago. He tried to delete the server logs, but Dave and IT locked him out. I hung up the phone. I am looking at my wife right now. She is smiling for the first time in a month. I don't know if I want the job back. I don't know if I can ever trust that leadership team again. They turned on me so fast. But I know one thing. I am going to walk into that building with my head held high. I am going to watch the security footage of Silas being led out in handcuffs, and I am going to request a copy for my personal records. And then I'm going to go home, open a beer, and finally get a good night's sleep. Be careful who you help. But more importantly, be careful who you hurt. You never know who has the keys to the basement. Update 3, Final. I went in. The atmosphere was funeral quiet. When I walked onto the floor, people stopped typing. Heads turned. There was shame in their eyes. They knew they had abandoned me. I didn't hold it against them. Survival instinct is a powerful thing, and Silas was a terrifying predator. I met the CEO in the conference room. He looked 10 years older. We messed up, Mark, he said. No preamble. No corporate speak. Yes, you did, I said. The extent of the fraud is staggering. It wasn't just the 15,000. That was just the tip. Once he had your access, he started rerouting freight claims. He was setting up shell vendors. He stole nearly $200,000 in the last 3 months alone. I whistled. He was busy. He was planning to run, the CEO said. He had a one-way ticket to Brazil booked for next week. If you hadn't tipped off the auditors, he would have been gone. So, I said, leaning back. What now? We want you back. Full salary. Plus a 20% bump. Plus a signing bonus to cover your legal fees and the stress. I looked at the contract on the table. It was a lot of money. Money that would pay off my mortgage. Money that would secure my kids' college. But I looked at the CEO, and I looked at Linda, and I realized I couldn't do it. I couldn't work for people who believed the lie so easily. I couldn't walk past Silas's empty office every day and not feel the ghost of that betrayal. I can't accept, I said. The CEO looked shocked. Mark, this is a generous offer. It is. But you broke the trust. You didn't investigate. You didn't support me. You handed me a box and kicked me out. I can't lead a team in a place where loyalty is a liability. Then what will you do? I'll consult, I said. I'll help you clean up this mess as an external contractor. My rate is 3 times my previous hourly wage. Take it or leave it. The CEO gritted his teeth. He knew he had no choice. No one else knew the legacy systems like I did. No one else could untangle the web Silas had woven. Deal, he said. I signed the consulting agreement. I walked out of the conference room and went to Dave's desk in IT. He was drinking a Mountain Dew, looking smug. Did you get it? I asked. He swiveled his monitor. There it was. Security footage from the lobby. Silas, wearing that expensive suit, hands cuffed behind his back. 2 agents holding his arms. He wasn't crying. He wasn't begging. He looked empty. Like a mask had fallen off. He looked up at the camera as they pushed him through the revolving doors. His eyes were dead. Can I have a copy? I asked. Already on your thumb drive, Dave said. I work for myself now. I make my own hours. I answer to no one. The company is slowly recovering, but the culture is shattered. They learned the hard way that a star performer isn't always a good employee. As for Silas, his trial is set for the fall. I will be testifying. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that he is trying to plea bargain. He is claiming a gambling addiction. He is claiming a tough childhood. He is claiming that the corporate culture forced him to do it. It won't work. The federal prosecutors have the logs. They have the emails. They have the proof of premeditation. I gave him a second chance, and he used it to load the gun. He forgot that I was the one who taught him how to shoot. So, to the Reddit community, thank you for reading. Thank you for letting me vent. And if you ever find a discrepancy in the budget, if you ever catch a bright young star stealing, call the police. Immediately. Don't be a hero. Don't be a savior. Be a boss. Because the person you save today might be the one who buries you tomorrow. End of log. I never thought I'd be the guy posting his life's wreckage on the internet for strangers to dissect, but here we are. You read these stories, you shake your head, you tell yourself, I'd see the signs. I'm not that blind. That was me. I was the guy who thought he had the perfect setup, a stable career, a house I was proud of, a wife I adored, and a best friend who was more like a brother. I thought I was the hero of my own story, helping a buddy out of a tough spot. Turns out, I was just the financier for my own destruction. I wasn't just blind, I was handing them the flashlight so they could find their way around behind my back. It's been 3 days since the confrontation. The house is quiet, too quiet. The silence rings in my ears, louder than the screaming matches that happened here 72 hours ago. I'm writing this because I need to organize the timeline in my head before I meet with my lawyer again on Thursday. I need to make sure I'm not crazy. Because that's what they tried to tell me. That I was paranoid. That I was imagining things. That I was the problem. Here is how I lost everything by trying to be a good person. The background. To understand how much this hurts, you have to understand who Dave was to me. We didn't just meet at work or the gym. Dave and I went back to the sandbox. We navigated middle school awkwardness together, covered for each other in high school, and were roommates all through college. He was my best man. In my wedding photos, he's standing there with a grin that looks so genuine, his hand on my shoulder, looking at me like he was proud. I look at those photos now and I just want to vomit. My wife, Sarah, and I had been married for 5 years. We were solid. Not perfect, no marriages, but we were good. We rarely fought about the big stuff. We were a team. We were talking about trying for kids next year. We had just renovated the kitchen. We were building a life. Sarah loved Dave too. She treated him like the brother she never had. The 3 of us were a unit. The trio, Dave used to joke. We went on camping trips together, spent holidays together when our families were too far away. There was never a moment, not one single second in 15 years, where I felt threatened by him. The setup. 6 months ago, Dave's life imploded. Or so he said. He showed up at my door at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, rain-soaked. I know I said no weather, but he literally stood there dripping on my porch, holding a duffel bag. He looked broken. He told us his wife, Emily, had cheated on him. He said she kicked him out, drained the joint account, and turned his friends against him. I didn't question it. Why would I? He was my brother. I was furious on his behalf. Sarah was equally upset. She made him tea, sat him down on our sofa, and listened while he cried. I told him, right then and there, you're staying here. As long as you need. No questions asked. He tried to refuse, playing the humble martyr. I can't impose, man. You guys have your routine. Shut up, I told him. We have the guest suite downstairs. It's yours. Use it to get back on your feet. Save your money for a lawyer. We got you. Sarah squeezed my hand, looking at me with what I thought was admiration. Mark's right, she said, her voice soft. We take care of family. And your family, Dave. The next day, he moved in. The honeymoon phase. The first month was honestly great. Having Dave around felt like the college days, but better. He was the perfect house guest. He was terrified of being a burden, so he overcompensated. He fixed the leaky faucet in the guest bath. He mowed the lawn without being asked. He'd have dinner ready when I got home from work. I was working long hours at the time, chasing a VP promotion that required a lot of travel and late nights at the office. Knowing Dave was at the house actually made me feel better. I didn't like Sarah being alone in that big house in the suburbs, especially with the recent string of break-ins in the neighborhood. Dave was like a live-in security guard. I remember coming home one Thursday night, exhausted. I walked into the kitchen, and there they were, Dave and Sarah, laughing while making pasta. Flour was on the counter, music was playing, and the vibe was light. Daddy's home. Dave joked, tossing a dish towel at me. Sarah came over and kissed me, tasting like wine. Dave made his famous carbonara, she said. I felt lucky. I really did. I felt like I had the best support system in the world. I sat down, loosened my tie, and ate the food my best friend made, sitting next to the woman I loved, talking about my day. I didn't see the look they exchanged when I turned my head to grab a drink. I didn't see anything. The shift. Around month 3, things started to change. It wasn't abrupt, it was a slow erosion of the dynamic. Dave was supposed to be looking for an apartment. He had a decent job as a graphic designer, fully remote. He had the money. But every time I brought it up, there was an excuse. The market was bad. The landlords were asking for crazy deposits. He was waiting for the divorce settlement. Don't rush him, Sarah would say to me in bed, her voice sharp. He's going through hell, Mark. Can't you be a little more empathetic? I am being empathetic, I'd argue. But it's been 3 months. I just want our privacy back. He's hardly ever in the way, she'd counter. He stays in the basement half the time. But he wasn't in the basement. He was everywhere. I started noticing that when I came home, the energy would shift. I'd walk through the door, and the laughter would stop. Not in a suspicious way, just in a interrupted way. Like I had walked into a conversation I wasn't part of. They would turn to me, smiles plastered on, but the air felt thick. Inside jokes started popping up. They'd reference a movie they watched while I was on a business trip. They'd quote a meme I hadn't seen. You had to be there, Dave would say, chuckling. Yes, Sarah would add, it was so funny, Mark. You would have hated it though, it was one of those rom-coms. I brushed it off. I was busy. I was stressed. I told myself I was being jealous and possessive. I told myself that men and women can be friends, and if I couldn't trust my wife and my best friend, who could I trust? The exclusion. The real isolation started in month 4. I had a free weekend, finally. Let's go to the lake, I suggested. Just the 3 of us, like old times. I actually have plans, Dave said quickly. Going to meet some buddies from the gym. Oh, I said. Okay, well, Sarah, we can go. Just us. Sarah hesitated. I promised Dave I'd help him with his portfolio website this weekend, Mark. He's really stressed about work. You can help him on Sunday, I said, a little irritation bleeding through. Don't be like that, she snapped. He needs this. You know how important his career is right now. I ended up mowing the lawn while they sat in the dining room, huddled over a laptop. I walked past to get water, and I saw Sarah's hand resting on his shoulder. It looked casual. Too casual. When I walked in, she pulled it back. Not sharply, just a slow slide away. Everything good? I asked. Great, Dave said, not looking up from the screen. That night, I tried to initiate intimacy with Sarah. She turned away. I'm tired, Mark. My head hurts. This became the new normal. She was always tired. She was always stressed. But I'd hear her giggling downstairs at 11 p.m. while I was brushing my teeth, waiting for her to come to bed. When she finally did come up, she'd smell like fresh air, like she'd been outside on the patio. With him. The gaslighting. I finally confronted her about it in month 5. I feel like a third wheel in my own marriage, I said over breakfast. Dave was out on a run. Sarah slammed her coffee mug down. Are you serious right now? Are you actually jealous of Dave? Mark, he is your brother. He is broken. He is suicidal over Emily. And you're making this about your ego. It's not my ego, I said. It's the fact that you spend more time with him than me. You text him when we're at dinner. You watch shows with him that we were supposed to watch together. He's lonely, she shouted. I am being a friend. God, you are so insecure. It's pathetic. She made me feel small. She twisted it until I was apologizing to her. I ended up buying her flowers that evening to say sorry for being a jerk. Dave patted me on the back. She loves you, man. Don't worry. I'll be out of your hair soon. No, stay, I said, drowning in guilt. Take your time. I literally invited the vampire back into the house. The discovery. It wasn't a text message. It wasn't lipstick on a collar. It was technology, pure and simple. I'm a tech guy. I like gadgets. A year ago, I installed a mesh Wi-Fi system to cover the whole property, including the backyard and the garage. I also set up a local server for our media, movies, photos, backups. Sarah's phone and my phone were set to auto-backup photos to the server whenever we were on Wi-Fi. It was just a way to save iCloud storage fees. Last Tuesday, I was at work, looking for an old photo of the house to show a contractor. I logged into our home server remotely. I started scrolling through the recent uploads folder, looking for the house pics. I saw a video file. It was time-stamped from that morning, 10:30 a.m. I frowned. Sarah was supposed to be at her part-time job at the boutique. Dave was supposed to be, well, doing whatever Dave did. I clicked the file. It was a screen recording. Sarah must have accidentally triggered it on her phone, or maybe she meant to record something else. It was only 30 seconds long. The screen was black. The phone was face down on a surface. But the audio was crystal clear. God, he's so oblivious, Sarah's voice. Unmistakable. He's focused on the promotion, Dave's voice. Lazy. Relaxed. Let him work. Pays for the steak dinners. Laughter. Cruel, easy laughter. I almost felt bad yesterday when he asked if we wanted to go to the movies, Sarah said. Almost. Don't feel bad. We're doing him a favor. If we told him, he'd fall apart. Then, the sound of movement. Rustling. A sharp intake of breath from Sarah. Stop, she giggled. Not here. The kitchen has big windows. Let the neighbors watch, Dave said. I love it when you're risky. The recording cut off. I sat in my office chair, surrounded by the hum of corporate life, and felt my entire world dissolve. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I went cold. Ice cold. My heart rate dropped. It was like my body went into shock, bypassing the emotional center and going straight to survival mode. They weren't just sleeping together. They were mocking me. They were living off my paycheck, eating my food, living in my house, and laughing at how stupid I was. The verification. I needed more. That audio was damning, but I needed to know the extent. I needed to know how long. I left work early, citing a migraine. I drove home, but I didn't pull into the driveway. I parked 2 streets over and walked through the wooded trail that runs behind our subdivision. I approached my own house like a burglar. I knew the layout. I knew where the blind spots were. I crept up to the back patio. The glass sliding doors were open. The screen was closed. I could hear music. I crouched behind the decorative planters Sarah had insisted we buy. They were in the living room. So what's the plan for when he gets the promotion? Dave asked. If he gets the promotion, the bonus is huge, Sarah said. We should wait until that clears. Then I file. I can argue that since you've been living here, you're a dependent or something. No, that's stupid. But we can take half. The house, the retirement accounts. I hate waiting, Dave groaned. Patience, baby, she said. Then I saw them. Through the gap in the curtains. Dave was sitting in my recliner. Sarah was straddling him. They weren't just hooking up. They were comfortable. This wasn't a fling. This was a relationship. They looked like a married couple who had gotten rid of the annoying roommate, me. I pulled out my phone and recorded 10 minutes of video through the gap in the curtains. I got the audio of them plotting to take my bonus. I got the visual of them kissing. Then, I walked away. I didn't burst in. I didn't kick down the door. I walked back to my car, drove to a hotel, and checked in. The execution. I spent the next 24 hours mobilizing. First, I moved half of our joint savings, my legal right, into a new account at a different bank. I canceled the credit cards that I was the primary account holder on. I called my HR department and changed my direct deposit immediately. Then, I called a lawyer. A shark. I sent him the video and the audio file. "This is good," he said. "In our state, infidelity impacts alimony. And the conspiracy to take your bonus? That shows malice. We can destroy them." "Do it," I said. Then, I texted Dave. "Hey man, big surprise coming tonight. Make sure you and Sarah are home at 6 p.m. Order pizza. My treat." I wanted them relaxed. I wanted them unsuspecting. I showed up at 6:05 p.m. I brought my brother, actual brother, 6 feet 4 inches, works construction, and my dad. I didn't tell them everything, just that Dave and Sarah were having an affair and I needed witnesses to get them out. They were furious. I walked in the front door. The house smelled like pepperoni. Dave was on the couch, beer in hand. Sarah was setting the table. Surprise. Dave grinned. "What's the occasion?" I didn't smile. I walked over to the TV, plugged in my phone via HDMI, and pressed play. The video from the patio filled the 65-inch screen. "I hate waiting," Dave's voice boomed through the surround sound. "Patience, baby," Sarah's voice replied. The silence in the room was heavier than lead. I watched their faces. It was the only satisfaction I got. The color drained from Sarah's face so fast I thought she was going to faint. Dave froze, his beer halfway to his mouth, his eyes darting from the screen to me to my brother standing by the door with his arms crossed. "Mark," Sarah whispered. "Mark, wait." "Get out," I said. Calmly. Softly. "Mark, please let me explain," Dave started, standing up. It happened. We didn't mean to hurt you." "You plotted to take my bonus," I said. "You mocked me. You ate my food and slept in my house and laughed at me. You have exactly 1 hour to pack your bags and get out. If you are not gone in 60 minutes, I change the locks with your stuff inside and you can deal with the police to get it back." "You can't kick me out," Sarah shrieked. "This is my house too." "Actually," I said, "Dad owns the house. We just pay rent." That was the lie I had kept in my back pocket. My name was on the deed, but they didn't know I had transferred the title to an LLC controlled by my father for liability reasons regarding my job years ago. Technically, they were tenants at will. And I was the landlord's son. It was a stretch legally, but in the moment, it worked. "Pack," my brother growled. He took a step forward. Dave flinched. The exit. The next hour was a blur of chaotic movement. Sarah was crying hysterically, throwing clothes into garbage bags. She kept trying to grab my arm, begging me to listen. I was confused. He manipulated me. "Mark, I love you." I just sidestepped her. 30 minutes left. Dave was quieter. He knew. He knew he had overplayed his hand. He packed his duffel bag, the same one he arrived with, and a few boxes of things he had accumulated on my dime. When they were standing on the porch, bags piled around them, the reality hit them. It was 8 p.m. It was dark. They had nowhere to go. Dave didn't have a car, he had been using Sarah's. "Give me the keys to the SUV," I told Sarah. "I need to drive," she screamed. "It's in my name. The payments are in my name. Give me the keys, or I report it stolen in 10 minutes. She threw the keys at my chest. "I hope you rot, Mark. You heartless prick." "I'm the heartless one?" I asked. "Have fun walking." I slammed the door. I locked the deadbolt. My dad put a chair under the handle just in case. We watched from the window as they called an Uber. It took 20 minutes to arrive. They stood there in the cold, not talking to each other. The fantasy was over. Now they were just two cheaters on a sidewalk with garbage bags. The aftermath. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my phone has blown up. Sarah's parents called me, screaming that I abandoned their daughter. I sent them the video. They haven't called back since. Dave's ex-wife, Emily, reached out. Turns out, Dave didn't get cheated on. He was the one who cheated on Emily. That was why she kicked him out. He projected his own sins onto her to get my sympathy. I feel terrible for believing him over her. I apologized to her, and she was gracious enough to tell me, he's your problem now. Or I guess he's not. Sarah has sent me 40 emails. Some are apologies, some are threats, some are begging for money. I forwarded all of them to my lawyer. I am currently living in the house alone. It feels tainted. I see them in every corner. I see Dave sitting at the island. I see Sarah laughing at his jokes. I'm listing the house next week. I can't live here anymore. I'm 32 years old, and I have to start over. I have to find new friends, because our entire friend group is fractured. Some people are taking sides. You shouldn't have thrown her out on the street. But the ones who saw the video are on my side. It hurts. It hurts physically. My chest aches constantly. I mourn the loss of my wife, but I also mourn the loss of my best friend. It's a double funeral. But here is the thing, I caught them. They didn't win. They didn't get the bonus. They didn't get the house. They have each other now, and judging by the silence between them on the sidewalk that night, reality is crashing down on their little paradise. They deserve each other. I'm going to be okay. It's going to take therapy, and a lot of whiskey, and a long time, but I'm going to be okay. Because I know the truth now. And the truth, as painful as it is better than living in their lie. Edit/update. A lot of you are asking about the legal side of kicking her out. My lawyer says it was risky, but since she left voluntarily, even though under duress, it's harder for her to claim a legal eviction, especially since she has nowhere to go and no funds to fight it immediately. We are filing for immediate divorce and a restraining order based on the conspiracy to defraud evidence from the audio recording. Also, for those asking about Dave, I found out he lost his job 3 months ago. He wasn't working from home. He was playing video games and sleeping with my wife while I was busting my ass to support them both. I checked the bank statements today. There are withdrawals from the joint account that correspond to nice dinners, hotel rooms, and gifts. They were dating on my dime. I'm burning the sheets from the guest bed tonight. A bonfire in the backyard. You're all invited in spirit. Don't ignore the red flags, guys. If you feel like a third wheel in your own marriage, you probably are. End of post. I'm holding a subpoena in my hand that claims I owe my ex-girlfriend Vanessa $150,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress and breach of verbal contract. This is the same woman I found sleeping in a Honda Civic in a Walmart parking lot 8 months ago. This is the same woman I fed, clothed, and housed in my guest room when her own parents wouldn't answer her phone calls. This is the woman who looked me in the eye with tears running down her face and swore that if I just gave her a secure place to sleep for 30 days, she would turn her life around. I gave her 6 months. I gave her a job reference. I gave her my dignity. And in return, she is trying to bankrupt me because I finally had the spine to tell her to leave my house. If you are thinking about playing the hero for someone who destroyed you in the past, read this first. Do not do it. Let the past stay dead. To understand why this lawsuit is so insane, you have to understand who Vanessa was to me. 5 years ago, we were the couple everyone envied. We had the apartment downtown, the shared friend group, the plans for a wedding. I was 26, working in logistics, and she was finishing her marketing degree. I was blind. I didn't see the narcissism. I didn't see that her bad luck with friends was actually her inability to maintain a relationship that didn't serve her immediate needs. The end came on a Tuesday. I came home early because a shipment had been canceled. I walked into our apartment and found Vanessa on our couch with a guy I played recreational basketball with. It wasn't just the act, it was the aftermath. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She looked at me, buttoned her shirt, and told me that I had been emotionally unavailable because I was working 60 hours a week to pay for the engagement ring that was currently sitting in my sock drawer. She blamed me for her infidelity while the guy awkwardly put his shoes on and ran out the door. We broke up. She moved out that night. I blocked her on everything. I went to therapy. I hit the gym. I got a promotion. I bought a house, a nice 3-bedroom place in the suburbs with a fenced yard. I was doing well. I was happy. I had fully processed the trauma and moved on. Or so I thought. 3 years passed. I hadn't heard a whisper of her name until my phone rang on a rainy November night. It was an unknown number. Usually, I ignore those, but something made me pick up. It was Vanessa. Her voice was unrecognizable. It was cracked, desperate, and terrified. She told me she was homeless. She told me the guy she had left me for, not the basketball player, but the one after him, had kicked her out and stolen her savings. She had been living in her car for 3 weeks. She was cold. She was hungry. She had nobody. I should have hung up. Every logical circuit in my brain screamed at me to hang the phone up and block the number. But she played the one card she knew would work. She said, "You are the only decent man I have ever known. Please, I just need a shower and a night of sleep. I will leave in the morning." I drove to the Walmart parking lot she described. It wasn't a lie. Her car was filled with trash bags of clothes. She looked skeletal. Her hair was matted. The arrogance I remembered from our breakup was gone, replaced by a hollow, shivering shell of a human being. I told her to follow me home. When we got to my place, she stood in the foyer looking around like she had walked into a palace. My house isn't a mansion, but it's clean, modern, and warm. I showed her the guest room. I gave her a stack of fresh towels. I ordered a pizza. She ate 4 slices in silence, barely breathing between bites. We sat at the kitchen island. I laid down the ground rules immediately. I told her this was temporary. I told her there was no us. I told her she could stay for 2 weeks to get her bearings, but she needed to find a job and a place. She agreed to everything. She cried and thanked me. She said I was saving her life. The first month was surprisingly smooth. The 2-week deadline came and went, but I extended it because she was making an effort. She cleaned the house top to bottom every day. She cooked dinner so it was ready when I got home from work. She did the yard work. It felt transactional, which I liked. She was earning her keep. I helped her update her resume. She had a gap in employment, so I called a friend of mine who manages a customer service center for a mid-sized tech company. I put my own reputation on the line to get her an interview. She nailed it. She got the job. Things were looking up. She was working, she was saving money, and we were existing as polite roommates. But looking back, I can see the subtle shifts. The boundaries started to erode, not all at once, but like a shoreline slowly being eaten by the tide. It started with the groceries. Initially, she ate whatever I bought. Then, requests started appearing on the whiteboard on the fridge. Organic almond milk. Specific brands of expensive cheese. A certain type of wine. I bought them because I can afford it and I didn't want to be petty. Then came the commentary on my life. I would come home tired, and she would be sitting on the couch, my spot, watching TV. She would ask why I worked so much. She would say things like, "You know, you're wasting your youth in that warehouse. You should travel more." It was rich coming from someone sleeping in my guest room for free, but I brushed it off. The real trouble began when she got her first paycheck. I expected her to offer some money for utilities or at least buy her own groceries. Instead, she came home with shopping bags. New clothes. Expensive makeup. She told me she needed to look the part for her new job. I reminded her the goal was to save for an apartment. She laughed and said, "Relax, I'm building my confidence back up. Don't be such a miser." That word stuck with me. Miser. I was paying the mortgage, the electric bill, the water, the internet, and the food bill. I had given her a zero-cost life to recover. And she called me a miser. By month 3, the dynamic had fully shifted. She wasn't the grateful guest anymore, she was the lady of the house. She rearranged the living room furniture while I was at work because the feng shui was off. She threw out a rug I had inherited from my grandmother because she said it smelled old. When I confronted her about the rug, she gaslighted me. She said, "I did you a favor. That thing was a dust trap. You should be thanking me for caring about your allergies." I don't have allergies. I started dating again around this time. I met a woman named Sarah on an app. We hit it off. I didn't tell Sarah about Vanessa immediately because how do you explain that your ex-girlfriend is living in your guest room? It sounds insane. I finally decided to bring Sarah over for dinner on a Saturday night. I warned Vanessa 3 days in advance. I told her, "I am having a guest over. Please make yourself scarce or just stay in your room." Vanessa rolled her eyes but agreed. When Sarah arrived, the house was spotless. I was cooking steaks. We were having a glass of wine, laughing, having a great time. Then, Vanessa walked out of the guest room. She wasn't wearing sweatpants. She was wearing a silk robe that was far too short. She walked right into the kitchen, ignored Sarah completely, and poured herself a glass of the wine I had bought for the date. She leaned against the counter and looked at Sarah. "So you're the new one," Vanessa said. "Good luck. He's emotionally unavailable, you know. He works too much and he's terrible in bed." My jaw dropped. Sarah looked horrified. I slammed my hand on the counter. "Vanessa, get out. Go to your room." Vanessa laughed. "It's my kitchen too, isn't it? I live here." Sarah grabbed her purse and left. I chased her to the car, trying to explain, but she just shook her head. "You have a live-in ex-girlfriend who hates you. I don't need this drama." She drove off. I walked back into the house. Vanessa was sitting on the couch, drinking the wine, looking smug. I lost my temper. I didn't yell, but my voice was shaking with rage. "You have 30 days, I said. 30 days to find a new place. I don't care where it is. You are done here." She looked at me with cold, dead eyes. "You can't kick me out. I have rights. I'm a tenant." I was stunned. "You haven't paid a dime in rent. You aren't a tenant. You're a guest who has overstayed her welcome." "Check the laws," she said, taking a sip of wine. "I've been here 3 months. I get mail here. I have tenant rights. You have to formally evict me." I went to my room and locked the door. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called a lawyer. He confirmed what she said. Because I had allowed her to stay for an extended period and receive mail, she had established residency. I had to go through the formal eviction process. The next 2 months were hell. I served her the eviction notice. She stopped cleaning. She stopped cooking. She started bringing random men back to the house at 2 a.m. She would blast music while I was trying to sleep for work. She would leave dirty dishes in the sink until they molded. It was psychological warfare. She was trying to break me so I would pay her to leave. But I am stubborn. I documented everything. I took photos of the mess. I recorded the noise. I kept a log of every interaction. I didn't engage with her. I wore noise-canceling headphones. I ate my meals in my car. I waited out the clock. Finally, the court date came. She didn't show up. The judge granted the eviction. I came home with the sheriff. Vanessa was there, watching TV. When she saw the officer, she realized the game was over. She screamed. She threw a vase at the wall. She cursed me. But she packed her bags. As she was walking out the door, dragging her suitcases, she turned to me. "You'll regret this," she spat. "You used me. You made me think we had a future. You're going to pay." I changed the locks an hour later. I hired a cleaning crew to sanitize the room. I thought it was over. 6 months of peace followed. I repaired my life. I started dating again, carefully. I didn't hear a word from Vanessa. Then last Tuesday, a process server showed up at my office. He handed me a thick envelope. I opened it in the break room. Vanessa L. versus my name, civil complaint for damages. I read through the document, my hands trembling with rage. It was a work of fiction. Count 1, breach of verbal contract. She claimed that when she moved in, I promised her that if she managed the household, cooking and cleaning, I would support her financially for an indefinite period, and that the house was intended to be marital property once we reconciled. She claimed I fraudulently induced her to provide domestic labor under the guise of a romantic reconciliation. Count 2, intentional infliction of emotional distress. She claimed that I was abusive and controlling. She listed the fact that I restricted her access to my credit cards, which I never gave her access to in the first place, as financial abuse. She claimed that my eviction of her caused her severe psychological trauma, anxiety, and loss of reputation. Count 3, unjust enrichment. She claimed that her renovations, rearranging the furniture and throwing away my grandmother's rug, increased the value of my home and she was entitled to compensation for her interior design services. She was asking for $150,000. She wanted back pay for a housekeeping salary she never asked for, damages for the trauma of being evicted, and a share of the equity in my home. I went straight to my lawyer. He read the complaint and actually laughed out loud. "This is a shakedown," he said. "She knows this won't stick in court, but she thinks you'll pay her 20 grand to make it go away." "I won't pay her a cent," I told him. "I will spend $50,000 on you before I give her $1. "Good," he said. "Let's bury her." We started the discovery process. This is where her plan fell apart. My lawyer requested her text messages, her emails, and her employment records. Since she was claiming emotional distress so severe she couldn't work, we requested her medical records and therapy notes. Vanessa, in her arrogance, hadn't deleted her texts. We got the logs from the phone company. We found texts between her and her mother from the first week she moved in. Text to Mom, "He's such a sucker. I'm living rent-free. I'm going to save up for a few months and then bounce. I just have to pretend I'm grateful." Text to Friend, "I hate this house. It's so boring. But he buys whatever food I want. I'm just gonna ride this gravy train until I find a guy with more money." We found texts from the night of the eviction. Text to Ex-Boyfriend, the one she cheated with, "I'm going to make him pay. I'm going to ruin him. I'll just say he promised to marry me." The courts always believe the woman. The smoking gun, however, was her employment record. She claimed in the lawsuit that my abuse forced her to quit the job I got her. The HR records showed she was fired for stealing office supplies and chronic lateness. My lawyer scheduled a deposition. This is where you sit in a room under oath and answer questions. Vanessa showed up with a lawyer who looked like he graduated from law school yesterday. She looked confident. She was dressed in a modest suit, trying to play the victim. My lawyer started gently. He asked about the timeline. She lied immediately. She said we were sleeping together the whole time she lived there. "Ms. Vanessa," my lawyer said, sliding a piece of paper across the table. "This is a text message you sent to your sister on December 12th. You say here, 'He won't even touch me. He sleeps with his door locked.' It's pathetic. Can you explain this discrepancy?" Vanessa turned pale. I was lying to my sister to protect his reputation." "Right," my lawyer said. "And this text where you call him a miserly incel?" She stammered. He moved on to the financial abuse. "You claim my name, controlled your finances. Did you pay rent?" "No." "Did you pay for utilities?" "No." "Did you pay for food?" "No." So he provided you with roughly $2,000 a month in free housing and sustenance. And you claim this was abuse. "He made me feel small," she yelled. "He walked around like he owned the place." "He did own the place," my lawyer said dryly. "It is his house." The final blow was the verbal contract. My lawyer played a voicemail she left me the day she moved in. I had saved everything. Voicemail, "Thank you so much. I promise, just 2 weeks. I'll get a job and get out of your hair. I know we aren't together, and I respect that. You are a lifesaver." "I know we aren't together," my lawyer repeated. "That seems to contradict your claim that you entered the home under the promise of marriage." Vanessa's lawyer asked for a recess. 5 minutes later, they came back. They offered to drop the lawsuit if I paid her legal fees. "No," I said. My lawyer looked at them. "We are countersuing for legal fees and malicious prosecution. We have evidence of perjury. We have evidence of fraud. If you don't withdraw this lawsuit with prejudice immediately and sign a waiver agreeing to never contact my client again, we will file a motion for sanctions against you personally," he pointed at her lawyer, "for filing a frivolous claim without due diligence." Vanessa's lawyer looked terrified. He whispered furiously to Vanessa. She looked at me with pure hatred. "Fine," she hissed. "I'll drop it." "With prejudice," my lawyer said. "And you sign the settlement agreement today." She signed. She threw the pen across the table and stormed out. That was 2 days ago. I am technically out about $5,000 in legal retainers, but it was worth every penny to see the look on her face when her lies crumbled. I am sharing this because I know there are people out there like me. People who want to help. People who think that because they have resources, they have an obligation to save those who hurt them. Don't do it. If an ex who betrayed you comes back asking for help, give them the number to a shelter. Give them a link to a food bank. Do not let them into your home. Do not let them into your life. There is a reason they are in that situation, and if you aren't careful, they will pull you down into the pit with them just to have something to stand on. I am safe now. My locks are changed. My cameras are upgraded. And I have a legal document that says if she ever comes near me again, she goes to jail. But the emotional toll? The trust issues? That's going to take a lot longer to fix than the bank account. I learned the hard way that closure doesn't come from helping the person who hurt you. Closure comes from indifference. Closure is keeping the door locked. I am exhausted. But I am free. Update 1. The Aftermath and the Flying Monkeys. I didn't expect this post to blow up the way it did. I've read every single comment. To those calling me a saint, I'm not. I was a doormat. To those calling me an idiot, you are absolutely right. I was lonely and I wanted to believe that people are capable of redemption. Lesson learned. A few things have happened since the settlement was signed, and I think it's important to document them here, mostly to show the ripple effects of dealing with a narcissist. First, the flying monkeys. If you aren't familiar with the term, it comes from the Wizard of Oz. The wicked witch sends her monkeys to do her dirty work. In the context of narcissistic abuse, it refers to the friends and family the narcissist manipulates into attacking you on their behalf. Vanessa, having lost the legal battle, took the war to the court of public opinion. She posted a vague, tearful video on social media. She didn't name me directly, probably because her lawyer warned her about defamation, but she talked about surviving a powerful man and being silenced by the legal system. She cried about being homeless again because of cruelty. Suddenly, my phone started blowing up. People I hadn't spoken to in years, mutual friends from our original relationship, were sliding into my DMs calling me a monster. One message stood out. It was from Mark, the guy she cheated on me with originally. The irony was suffocating. Mark, bro, I know we have history, but seeing you kick a woman while she's down is low. You have a whole house and you put her on the street? You need to check yourself. I didn't respond. I simply took a screenshot of the court document where she admitted to lying about the abuse and sent it to him. He blocked me immediately. Her mother called me. This is the same woman who refused to let Vanessa move back in with them because Vanessa brings chaos. She left a voicemail screaming that I had destroyed her daughter's mental health. She asked how I could sleep at night knowing Vanessa was suffering. I sent her a text. Vanessa is suffering because she refuses to take accountability for her choices. I offered her a hand up, and she tried to cut it off. Do not contact me again. The second development is regarding my job. Vanessa, in a fit of spite, apparently tried to anonymously report me to my company's HR department. She claimed I was using company time to handle personal legal matters and that I was unstable. Fortunately, I had already briefed my boss on the situation when the subpoena arrived at the office. Transparency saved me. When HR received the complaint, they flagged it as malicious. My boss called me into his office, not to reprimand me, but to ask if I needed extra security in the parking lot. That is what a supportive environment looks like. I've also been doing a lot of reflection on why I let her back in. My therapist calls it white knight syndrome. I have a compulsive need to fix things. I see a problem, I want to solve it. Vanessa presented herself as a broken object, and my instinct was to repair her. I conflated being a good person with having no boundaries. I realized that by helping her, I wasn't actually helping her. I was enabling her. I was shielding her from the consequences of her actions. As long as I was providing the safety net, she had no reason to actually change. The moment I removed the net, the eviction, she attacked. That is the nature of the parasite. It resents the host for trying to detach. To answer a few questions from the comments. Did you ever get the money for the utilities or food? No. And I never will. You can't get blood from a stone. Vanessa is broke. Even if I sued her and won, I just have a piece of paper saying she owes me money. The cost of pursuing it would exceed the payout. I have written it off as a stupid tax. What happened to Sarah? We talked. I explained the full situation and showed her the evidence. She was sympathetic, but she decided not to pursue a relationship. She said, "You have too much baggage right now, and I'm looking for peace." I don't blame her. I respect her for having the boundaries I lacked. We are friendly, but we aren't dating. Where is Vanessa now? I don't know, and I make a conscious effort not to find out. I have blocked her on everything. I have blocked her friends. I have instructed my friends not to give me updates. However, in a small town, news travels. I heard from a cashier at the local grocery store, who knows us both, that Vanessa is staying with a new guy she met at a bar. Apparently, she moved in with him 3 days after meeting him. The cycle continues. She found a new host. I feel bad for the guy, but it's not my job to warn him. If I tried, she would spin it as me being a stalker ex. He will have to learn the same way I did. The most important takeaway. The legal system is scary. When I first got that paper, I felt sick. I felt like a criminal. But the truth is powerful. Documentation is powerful. If you are in a toxic relationship, document everything. Save the texts. Save the emails. Record the conversations, if your state laws allow it. Narcissists rely on your memory being fuzzy. They rely on he said, she said. They rewrite history to suit their narrative. But they cannot rewrite a time-stamped text message sent to their mother admitting they are using you. I am currently sitting on my back porch. It is quiet. There is no one critiquing my furniture. There is no one eating my food and complaining about the brand. There is no one plotting against me in the next room. I have a beer. I have my dog. I have my peace. It cost me $5,000 and 8 months of stress, but I bought my freedom back. If you are reading this and you are thinking about texting that toxic ex because they've changed or they need help, put the phone down. Go for a run. Call your mom. Watch a movie. Do anything else. They haven't changed. They just ran out of other options. Don't be the option. Be the wall they hit. Thanks for listening. Update 2, 6 months later, the final echo. It has been 6 months since the settlement. I thought that was the end of it, but life has a funny way of circling back. Last week, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was from Vanessa. My first instinct was to burn it. My second instinct was to call my lawyer. But curiosity is a curse. I opened it with gloves on. Paranoia? Maybe. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a demand for money. It was an apology. I use quotes because it wasn't a real apology. It was 4 pages of justification. I'm sorry things got so messy, she wrote. I was in a bad place, and I felt like you backed me into a corner. I know I shouldn't have sued you, but I felt like I had no voice. I hope you can understand that I was acting out of fear. She went on to say that her new relationship isn't working out. Surprise, surprise. She said the new guy is controlling and doesn't understand her like I did. She dropped subtle hints about how much she misses my cooking and the safety of my house. Then came the kicker. I left a box of my winter coats in your attic. I really need them. Maybe I could swing by next Tuesday around 6? We could grab coffee and just clear the air. I stared at the letter. The audacity was breathtaking. After trying to destroy my reputation, after trying to sue me for $150,000, after dragging my name through the mud, she thought she could just swing by for her coats and a coffee. She was testing the fence. She was checking to see if there was any weakness left in the perimeter. She wanted to see if the white knight was still home. I walked to my kitchen. I grabbed a trash bag. I went to the attic. Sure enough, tucked in the corner, was a box of coats. I hadn't even noticed them. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I drove the box to the local Goodwill donation center. I got a receipt. I took a photo of the receipt. I printed a copy of the settlement agreement where she agreed to no contact. I put the receipt and a copy of the agreement in an envelope and mailed it to the address of the new guy she was living with. It wasn't hard to find. She had posted photos of his house on Instagram. I added a short note. Vanessa, per the court order, you are not to contact me. Your property was considered abandoned after 30 days per state law. I have donated the items to charity. Do not write to me again, or I will file for a restraining order. Good luck. I mailed it. 2 days later, I got a notification that she had tried to follow me on Instagram from a burner account. I blocked it. The silence since then has been absolute. I finally feel like the story is over. The ghost is exorcised. I've started volunteering at a local housing charity. I realized that my desire to help wasn't bad, it was just directed at the wrong person. Now I help people who actually want to be helped, through an organization with structure and boundaries. I build houses on weekends. I don't let people live in mine. I'm dating a woman named Claire now. She has her own house. She has her own career. She has her own life. On our third date, she insisted on paying for dinner because I got the last one. It felt weird. It felt healthy. I told her about Vanessa early on. I laid it all out. I didn't hide the ugly parts. Claire looked at me and said, "It sounds like you have a big heart and you learned a hard lesson. As long as you learned it, we're good." We're good. So Reddit, this is the end of the saga. I'm signing off. Protect your peace. Protect your home. And never, ever let the vampire across the threshold, no matter how sad they look in the rain. Edit. Some final thoughts on the legal aspect since many asked. I've had a lot of DMs asking for specific legal advice. I am not a lawyer. However, here are the 3 things my lawyer told me that saved my ass. Residency is established faster than you think. In my state, it's 30 days or receiving mail. Once they have residency, they are a tenant. Even if they pay $0. You cannot change the locks. You cannot throw their stuff out. You have to go through the courts. If you let someone stay for a few weeks, make them sign a guest agreement stating they do not have tenancy rights and must vacate by X date. Verbal contracts are hard to prove, but dangerous. The reason Vanessa's lawsuit had any legs at all, even weak ones, was because domestic disputes often rely on he said, she said. The fact that I had text messages proving she knew the arrangement was temporary was the silver bullet. If I hadn't had those texts, it would have been my word against hers. And litigation is expensive even if you win. Promissory estoppel. This is the legal term she tried to use. It basically means, I relied on your promise to my detriment. She claimed she didn't look for other housing because I promised she could stay. If you help someone, make it clear in writing that the help is finite and revocable. Stay safe out there. Don't let your empathy be your downfall. My boss fired me after I covered his fraud for years. 6 months later, I was the one testifying against him in court. I sat in the leather chair that cost more than my first car, looking at the man I had treated like a father for 7 years. He was not looking at me. He was looking at a smudge on his mahogany desk, rubbing it aggressively with his thumb. The silence in the office was heavy, the kind of silence that usually precedes a natural disaster or a structural collapse. Marcus finally looked up. His face was composed, wearing that practiced mask of executive concern that I had seen him use on clients 1,000 times. But this time, I was the client. Or rather, I was the liability. "We are letting you go," he said. The words did not land immediately. They floated in the air between us. I blinked. I looked around the room where I had spent weekends, holidays, and countless late nights fixing his mistakes. I looked at the bookshelf where the awards stood, awards won on the back of financial reports I had doctored to look clean. "Excuse me?" I asked. My voice was steady. I was proud of that. "It is a restructuring thing," Marcus said, leaning back. He was relaxing now. He had dropped the bomb. Now came the cleanup. "We need to pivot. The board feels that the operations department has become stagnant. We need fresh eyes. We need a new direction." I knew the numbers better than he did. I knew the board was just him and his silent partner, a man who lived in Florida and only cared that the checks cleared. I knew there was no restructuring. "This is about the renovation invoices, isn't it?" I asked. Marcus froze. His eyes narrowed, just a fraction. "This is about performance," he said, his voice dropping an octave. "This is about the fact that last quarter, our margins slipped. This is about the fact that you have lost your edge." I had not lost my edge. I had lost my willingness to hide the fact that he was funneling company profits into a shell corporation registered to his wife's maiden name. I had pushed back last week. I had told him that the IRS creates patterns, and he was weaving a tapestry. He slid a folder across the desk. "Standard severance," he said. 2 weeks. And a release of claims. "If you sign it today, I will throw in a generous letter of recommendation." I opened the folder. The document was thick. It was not a standard release. I scanned the legal jargon. It was a gag order. It was a non-disparagement agreement so tight it would have prevented me from telling my own mother what I did for a living. And if I don't sign? I asked. Marcus smiled. It was the smile he used when he closed a deal that he knew was bad for the other guy. Then we will have to contest your unemployment, he said. We will have to look closely at those margin slips. We might find that the financial irregularities were due to incompetence. Or worse. We wouldn't want that on your record, would we? He was threatening to frame me for the very fraud I had spent years helping him bury. I looked at him. I saw the gold watch I had helped him pick out. I saw the suit that was expensed as uniforms. I saw a man who believed he was untouchable because he had a title and I had a mortgage. I closed the folder. I did not sign it. I will take my chances, I said. Marcus laughed. It was a dry, dismissive sound. Good luck, he said. You are going to need it. I walked out of that office without packing a box. I walked past the new hire, a 23-year-old named Jessica who was the daughter of his country club friend. She looked at me with pity. I did not need her pity. I needed a lawyer. Because Marcus made one critical mistake. He assumed that because I was loyal, I was stupid. He assumed that because I covered his tracks, I didn't keep a map. I had the map. I had the compass. And I had 5 years of emails backed up on a hard drive that was currently sitting in a safety deposit box 3 towns over. The background. To understand why this was not just a firing, but a nuclear declaration of war, you have to understand the business. We were a mid-sized logistics consulting firm. It sounds boring because it is. We helped companies move things from point A to point B cheaper. It is a business of margins, spreadsheets, and vendor relationships. I started as a junior analyst. Marcus was the CEO. He was charismatic, the kind of guy who could sell ice to a polar bear. He took me under his wing. He told me I had potential. He told me we were a family. For the first 2 years, it was great. We grew. I got promoted. I became the director of operations. I handled the money, the contracts, and the vendors. Then the consultants started appearing. It began small. An invoice for $5,000 from a company called Vertex Solutions for strategic advisory. I asked Marcus about it. Oh, that is just a specialized contractor I used for the Chicago deal, he said. Just push it through. I pushed it through. Then it happened again. $7,500. $12,000. I looked up Vertex Solutions. It had a website that looked like it was built in 10 minutes. It had no LinkedIn presence. The address was a P.O. box in Delaware. I went to Marcus. Marcus, I said. These invoices. They are getting flagged by the accounting software as high risk. We need better documentation. He put his arm around my shoulder. Look, he said. Business is about relationships. Sometimes you have to pay for access. These guys get us into the room. If we want to play in the big leagues, we have to pay the admission fee. Do you trust me? I trusted him. I wanted to be in the big leagues. So I got creative. I recategorized the expenses. I moved them from consulting to marketing, then to vendor development. I spread them out across different quarters so they wouldn't trigger an audit from the bank. I became the architect of his theft. By year 4, Vertex Solutions was billing us $15,000 a month. But it wasn't just Vertex anymore. There was Blue Horizon Properties which billed us for off-site meeting space rental. We never had off-site meetings. I checked the address for Blue Horizon. It was a residential address in the Hamptons. It was Marcus's vacation home. He was billing the company to pay his mortgage. I confronted him again. This time, I was angry. Marcus, this is embezzlement, I said. This isn't paying for access. This is paying for your lifestyle. He turned on me. It was the first time I saw the mask slip. You think you know how this world works? He snapped. I built this company. I take the risk. I bring in the clients. This money is mine. The company is mine. You are just a glorified calculator. You do what I tell you to do, or you find another job. I should have quit right there. I know that now. But I had just bought a house. My wife was pregnant with our first child. The job market was cold. And he paid me well. He paid me specifically enough to keep me quiet, but not enough to make me independent. So I stayed. But I changed my strategy. I stopped fixing the books in a way that erased the trail. I started fixing them in a way that hid the trail from the bank, but left a neon sign for anyone who knew where to look. I insisted on email confirmations for everything. Marcus, just to confirm, you want me to process the $12,000 invoice for Blue Horizon under training facilities? Please reply so I can attach it to the ledger. He would reply, yes. Process it. I printed every single one. I saved every PDF. I backed up the metadata. Then came the renovation. Marcus decided the office needed a remodel. He hired a contractor. But the invoices coming in were for materials we didn't use. Marble countertops. Specific high-end fixtures. A custom soaking tub. We did not have a tub in the office break room. He was renovating his master bathroom at home and billing it to the company project. That was the line. The IRS is one thing. But screwing over the other shareholders, the silent partners, was dangerous. If the company went under because he bled it dry, I would be the one liable. I was the one signing the approvals. I refused to process the payment for the tub. I can't do it, Marcus, I said. It is too obvious. The auditor comes next month. A bathtub on an office renovation ledger? I can't explain that. He looked at me with cold, dead eyes. Fine, he said. I will handle it. A week later, Jessica was hired. A week after that, I was locked out of the system for updates. And then I was sitting in the chair, being told I was fired for losing my edge. The quiet period. The first month after being fired is a strange limbo. You oscillate between panic and freedom. I didn't sign the NDA. Marcus contested my unemployment, claiming I was fired for misconduct. That was his second mistake. By contesting the unemployment, he triggered a hearing. He wanted to starve me out. He thought that if he cut off my cash flow, I would come crawling back to sign the NDA just to pay my mortgage. I went to the unemployment hearing. It was over the phone. A mediator, me, and Marcus. Marcus told the mediator that I had been negligent, that I had approved vendors without vetting them, that I had cost the company thousands in wasteful spending. I listened to him lie. I said nothing. I let him put it on the record. I have documentation of his poor performance, Marcus said. The mediator asked me if I had a response. I dispute the claim, I said simply. I performed my duties as instructed by the CEO. The mediator sided with the employer initially because in our state, the burden of proof is tricky. My benefits were denied. Marcus thought he had one. He sent me an email the next day. Subject: closing the loop. It is unfortunate it came to this. The offer for the severance is still on the table if you want to sign the release. I don't want to see you struggle. He was mocking me. I did not reply. Instead, I called Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone was a lawyer who specialized in corporate litigation. He was expensive, aggressive, and had a reputation for hating bullies. I had to dip into my savings to retain him, but I knew the ROI would be worth it. I sat in his conference room and laid it out. I don't just want a settlement, I said. I want him exposed. Mr. Stone looked through my binder. The map. He looked at the Vertex invoices. He looked at the Blue Horizon property records. He looked at the emails where Marcus explicitly ordered me to pay them. This isn't just wrongful termination, Stone said, adjusting his glasses. This is shareholder oppression. This is tax fraud. This is breach of fiduciary duty. He looked up at me. Who are the other shareholders? There are two, I said. A venture capital group in Florida. And a silent partner named David who owns 40% of the stock. David, Stone said. Does David know about the bathtub? I doubt David knows about the bathtub, I said. Stone smiled. It was a shark's smile. We aren't going to sue for wrongful termination yet, Stone said. We are going to write a letter to the board of directors. You have a duty, as a former officer of the company, to report financial irregularities you discovered. It was a brilliant move. If we sued, Marcus could settle and seal the records. If we went to the board, we triggered an internal investigation. The letter. We drafted the letter. It was clinical. It was dry. It was devastating. Dear Board of Directors. During my tenure as Director of Operations, I identified several financial transactions that appeared to lack commercial substance. When I raised concerns regarding these transactions, specifically payments to Vertex Solutions and Blue Horizon Properties, I was instructed by the CEO to process them regardless. Shortly after refusing to process an invoice for residential-grade plumbing fixtures charged to the commercial office renovation, my employment was terminated. Attached are copies of the relevant invoices and internal correspondence. We sent it via certified mail. Then we waited. 2 weeks passed. Silence. I was starting to sweat. Had Marcus got to them? Was David in on it? Then my phone rang. It wasn't Marcus. It was a forensic accountant named Sarah, hired by the board. "I need to ask you some questions about the marketing budget," she said. I spent 3 hours on the phone with her. I walked her through the labyrinth. I told her where to look. I told her to check the metadata on the invoices. I told her to cross-reference the dates of the consulting trips with Marcus's family Instagram posts. She found it all. Vertex Solutions was owned by Marcus's brother-in-law. Blue Horizon was, confirming my suspicion, Marcus's LLC. The total misappropriation was over $450,000 in 3 years. The lawsuit. 3 weeks later, Marcus was suspended by the board pending a full audit. But Marcus was a fighter. He didn't go quietly. He sued the company for wrongful suspension. And in a move of pure desperation, he sued me for defamation and breach of contract, claiming I had manipulated the books to steal the money myself and was now framing him. He accused me of the very crime I had stopped him from committing. He claimed that I had created Vertex Solutions. He claimed I had forged his email approvals. It was insane. It was a lie so big it almost had its own gravity. I was served the papers at breakfast. My wife looked terrified. "He is suing us for $1 million?" She whispered. "He is trying to scare us," I said. "He is trying to drain our resources, so we settle and retract the statement." We went back to Mr. Stone. "Discovery," Stone said. "He wants to play? Let's play." The discovery phase of a lawsuit is where secrets go to die. We demanded everything. His bank records. His texts. His hard drives. Marcus stalled. He produced redacted documents. He claimed executive privilege. We filed motion after motion. The judge, a stern woman who had zero patience for games, ordered him to comply. And then came the deposition. The deposition. 6 months after I was fired, I walked into a conference room. It wasn't my old office. It was a neutral ground, a court reporter's office. Marcus was there. He looked thinner. His suit didn't fit as well. The arrogance was still there, but it was brittle. I sat across from him. Mr. Stone sat next to me. Marcus's lawyer was a loud, aggressive man named Pinter. Pinter started by grilling me. "Isn't it true," Pinter asked, "that you had full control over the accounting software?" "Yes," I said. "Isn't it true that you could create vendors in the system?" "Yes." "So you could have created Vertex Solutions," Pinter said. "I could have," I said. "But I didn't." Pinter pulled out a document. It was a check request for Vertex. "Is this your signature?" he asked. "It is," I said. "So you authorized the payment," he said triumphantly. "I authorized the payment based on the CEO's directive," I said. Pinter sneered. "You claim there was a directive. But we have no record of that." I looked at Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone slid a piece of paper across the table. "Exhibit A," Stone said. It was an email chain. From Marcus to me, date, February 14th, 2021. Subject, Vertex invoice. "Stop asking questions about Vertex. Just pay it. My brother-in-law is handling the integration. Priority overnight." Marcus went pale. "Where did you get that?" Marcus whispered. "I deleted that." Stone smiled. "You deleted it from your inbox, Marcus. But you can't delete it from the server backup tapes that we subpoenaed from the IT provider last week." Marcus looked at his lawyer. Pinter looked at the document. This is unverified," Pinter stammered. "We have the IT administrator on the witness list to authenticate it," Stone said. We continued. Mr. Stone took the lead. He showed Marcus the invoice for the bathtub. "Marcus, Is this your signature approving the renovation budget? Stone asked. Yes, Marcus said. And did you install a soaking tub in the office? Marcus shifted in his seat. We decided against it at the last minute. The materials were returned. Stone pulled out another photo. It was a photo from a real estate listing. Marcus had put his vacation home up for sale 2 weeks ago to cover his legal bills. The photo showed the master bathroom. There, gleaming in the sunlight, was the custom soaking tub. Unique serial number visible on the spec sheet matching the invoice. Is this the returned tub? Stone asked. Marcus was silent. I would like to remind you you are under oath, Stone said. I bought it from the company, Marcus said. It was a transaction. Show us the receipt, Stone said. Show us the deposit where you paid the company back for the $8,000 tub. Marcus looked down at his hands. There was no receipt. The deposition lasted 8 hours. By the end, Marcus was sweating through his shirt. We picked apart every lie. We showed the flow of money. We showed the text messages he sent his wife joking about the company bonus that paid for their trip to Italy, a trip billed as International Logistics Conference. There was no conference. The settlement offer. 2 days later, Pinter called Stone. They want to settle, Stone told me. I bet they do, I said. They are offering to drop the suit against you if you drop the complaint with the board and sign a confidentiality agreement. No money. Just a walk away. I laughed. No, I said. Stone told them no. They came back. $50,000 and a walk away. No, I said. What do you want? Stone asked. I want my severance, I said. I want my legal fees paid. And I want an admission of wrongdoing regarding my termination. I want my reputation cleared. That is a tall order, Stone said. He is cornered, I said. If this goes to trial, he goes to jail for perjury. He lied in the deposition. We held the line. The end of Marcus. We didn't have to go to trial. The board of directors beat us to it. Based on the evidence from the deposition, which Stone helpfully shared with the board's counsel, the board voted to remove Marcus as CEO for cause. Because he was fired for cause, specifically fraud and embezzlement, his equity in the company was subject to a clawback clause in the operating agreement. He lost his shares. He lost the company he built. The board reached out to me directly. They offered a settlement to avoid the lawsuit. They paid my full legal fees. They paid me 6 months of severance. And they issued a formal letter stating that my termination was in error and that I had acted with integrity and fiduciary responsibility. But the best part wasn't the money. 6 months later, I was working at a new job. A better job. Honest work with honest people. I had to go to the courthouse to finalize a small administrative thing regarding the settlement. As I was walking out, I saw Marcus. He was sitting on a bench in the hallway, outside a different courtroom. He looked 10 years older. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt. I slowed down. He looked up and saw me. There was no anger in his eyes anymore. Just exhaustion. You won, he said. I didn't win, Marcus, I said. I just didn't let you kill me. He looked away. I lost the house, he said softly. The Hamptons house. And the main house. Sarah left me. I felt a twinge of something. Not sympathy, but a recognition of the tragedy of it. He had it all. And he threw it away for a bathtub and some ego. You should have just paid the severance, I said. He laughed, a weak, hollow sound. Yeah, he said. I really should have. I walked away. I walked out of the courthouse and into the sun. The aftermath. It has been a year now. The old company was rebranded. The silent partner, David, took over. He actually called me and asked if I wanted my old job back. I told him no. I couldn't walk into that building again. Too many ghosts. I learned a lot from this. I learned that loyalty is a two-way street. If you are loyal to a boss who is not loyal to the law, you are just an accessory waiting to be discarded. I learned that you should always keep a paper trail. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen. And I learned that the scariest person in the room isn't the guy shouting. It is the guy who knows where the bodies are buried because he was handed the shovel. Marcus thought I was a tool. He forgot that a tool can be a weapon if you hold it the wrong way. I used the settlement money to pay off my student loans and put a down payment on a rental property. Every time I collect the rent, I think of it as my consulting fee. My new boss asked me the other day to order some new furniture for the office. Just standard stuff, he said. Nothing fancy. I smiled. Don't worry, I said. I will make sure we keep the receipts. Edit for clarity. A few people messaged asking about the nepotism hire Jessica. She actually quit 2 weeks after I left. Apparently, without me there to shield the team, Marcus turned his toxicity on her. She ended up testifying for the board during the internal investigation. She's a good kid. We grabbed coffee last week. Update: I just found out through the grapevine that Marcus is currently working as a sales rep for a solar panel company. Entry level. Door to door. Karma isn't just a concept. It is a logistics system. And eventually, everything gets delivered. The reality of the situation hits you in waves. When I was in the thick of it, during those long nights with Mr. Stone going over thousands of rows of Excel data, it felt like a game. It felt like a strategy session. But looking back, I realize how close I came to losing everything. If I hadn't kept those emails, if I hadn't been paranoid enough to print the confirmations, I would be the one with a ruined reputation. I would be the one being sued for fraud. Marcus had the narrative ready. He had the scapegoat picked out. He just underestimated the scapegoat's willingness to fight back. One detail I left out, because it seemed minor at the time, but was actually the pivot point of the whole legal battle. The metadata. When Marcus claimed he deleted the emails, he didn't understand how our server archiving worked. We used a third-party cloud backup for compliance reasons, something I had installed 3 years prior because the insurance company required it. Marcus had signed the check for that service every month. He paid for the very system that caught him. During the deposition, when Stone brought up the backups, Marcus tried to claim that I had access to the admin panel and could have planted the files. That was when Stone played his ace. The backup system logs every login. It logs every IP address. We showed the logs. The approvals for the fraudulent wires came from an IP address in the Bahamas. Marcus was in the Bahamas on vacation during those dates. I was in the office in Ohio. Unless I can teleport, Stone said to the judge, my client could not have sent those approvals. That was the moment the color drained from Marcus's face. That was the moment he knew it was over. It wasn't the tub. It wasn't the fake company. It was the timestamp on a server log that proved he was lying about his location. Technology is impartial. It doesn't care about your title. It doesn't care about your excuses. It just records the truth. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if he had just been honest with me. If he had come to me and said, "Look, I'm in trouble, I need cash." I probably would have helped him find a legal way to leverage his equity. I would have helped him restructure. Because I loved that job. And I respected him. But he didn't want help. He wanted an accomplice. And when the accomplice became a conscience, he wanted a victim. He picked the wrong guy. I am writing this not just to vent, but as a warning to anyone in a support role. Accounting, HR, ops, admin. You are the gatekeepers. You see everything. But because you see everything, you are the first ones they will blame when the lights come on. Protect yourself. Document everything. And never ever sign a document that you know is a lie, just because a man in a nice suit told you it was standard procedure. Standard procedure is how they get you. Exceptions to the rule are how they bury you. I kept my shovel. And I dug my way out. Timeline of events breakdown. Year 1 to 2, the golden years. Company growth. I am promoted to Director of Ops. Marcus is a mentor. Year 3, the first Vertex invoice, $5,000. I question it. Dismissed as strategy. Year 4, escalation. Vertex billing $15,000 per month. Blue horizon appears. I start keeping the shadow file, printed emails. Year 5, the renovation project. The bathtub incident. Year 5, month 10, I refuse to pay for the tub. Year 5, month 11, Marcus hires Jessica. I am locked out of admin rights. Year 6, month 1, I am fired. The severance/gag order offer. I refuse. Year 6, month 2, unemployment hearing. Marcus lies. I hire Mr. Stone. Year 6, Month 3, the letter to the board. The forensic audit begins. Year 6, Month 4, Marcus sues me for defamation, $1 million. Year 6, Month 6, the deposition. The gotcha moment with the IP logs and the tub photo. Year 6, Month 7, board fires Marcus. Settlement reached. Year 7, I am cleared. Marcus is ruined. It looks neat on a timeline. Living it was 6 months of insomnia, panic attacks, and checking my bank account to see if I could afford diapers. But the sleep I get now? It is the deepest sleep of my life. There is a specific kind of peace that comes from knowing you stood in the fire and didn't burn. My wife asked me yesterday if I missed the excitement of the old job. The high stakes. The big deals. I looked at her. I looked at our kid playing on the floor. I told her I have enough excitement. I have a job where the numbers add up. And that is enough for me. Thank you for reading. If you are in a situation like this, get a lawyer. Don't wait. And check your backups. End of log. The roommate. The music at the graduation party was loud, a thumping bass line that rattled the cheap plastic champagne flutes on the rented tables. I stood near the back of the banquet hall, holding a clutch purse that wasn't mine and a gift bag weighing down my other hand. I was exhausted. My feet throbbed in dress shoes I hadn't worn since a cousin's wedding 2 years ago. But I did not care about the pain. I was beaming. I was radiating pride. This was the finish line. We had made it. Across the room, Sarah was holding court. She looked incredible in her white dress, her nursing pin gleaming on her lapel, her face flushed with the adrenaline of achievement. She was laughing with a group of her cohorts, the people she had spent the last 3 years studying with, crying with, and stressing over. I watched her and felt a lump form in my throat. I remembered the late nights. I remembered the tears over anatomy and physiology too. I remembered the way she looked when she failed her first pharmacology exam, curled up on our thrift store sofa, sobbing that she was not smart enough. I remembered holding her, stroking her hair, and telling her that I would take care of everything. And I did. I took care of the rent. I took care of the utilities. I took care of the groceries, the car insurance, the gas, and the endless stream of takeout coffee she needed to survive clinical rotations. I saw her wave to someone near the entrance. It was her clinical instructor, a stern woman named Mrs. Gable who Sarah had terrified and admired in equal measure. Sarah beckoned her over, and then she waved at me. My heart jumped. This was it. The acknowledgement. The moment where we stood together as a team. I started walking toward her, dodging a waiter with a tray of appetizers. As I got closer, I saw a tall guy standing next to Sarah. I recognized him vaguely. Jason. He was one of the students in her study group. Good-looking guy, clean-cut, wearing a suit that cost more than my car. He had his arm casually resting on the back of Sarah's chair. I reached the circle. Sarah looked up, her eyes bright. She grabbed my arm, but her grip was tight, almost controlling. Mrs. Gable, Sarah said, her voice projecting clearly over the music. I am so glad you could come. I wouldn't miss it, Sarah, Mrs. Gable said, smiling. You were one of my top students. You have a bright future. Sarah beamed. Then she gestured to Jason. You know Jason, of course. Of course, Mrs. Gable nodded. Then Sarah turned to me. She didn't look me in the eye. She looked slightly past my ear, focused on a spot on the wall behind me. And this, Sarah said, her voice not wavering, is Mark. He is my roommate. The world did not stop spinning, but it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I froze, the smile half formed on my face curdling into something confused and grotesque. Roommate. Mrs. Gable asked politely. That is nice. It is good to have support with the rent in this economy. Yes, Sarah said quickly, finally glancing at me with a look that was pure steel. A warning. Mark has been a great roommate. He really helped out with the chores while I was studying. Jason chuckled. It was a rich, condescending sound. Every nurse needs a good roommate to walk the dog, right? I do not have a dog. We do not have a dog. I stood there, the clutch purse burning my hand. 3 years. 3 years of double shifts at the HVAC company. 3 years of wearing holes in my work boots because she needed new scrubs. 3 years of putting my own dreams of starting my own contracting business on hold so she could graduate debt-free. "Nice to meet you," I said. My voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. "Mark acts like a big brother sometimes," Sarah added, laughing a nervous, tinkling laugh that I had never heard before. "He is very protective." I looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time in 3 years, I did not see the woman I loved. I saw a stranger in a white dress who had just erased my entire existence with a single word. Roommate. I excused myself. I told them I needed to find the restroom. I walked out of the banquet hall, past the balloon arch that I had paid for, past the DJ I had deposited, and out into the cool evening air of the parking lot. I sat in my truck, the truck with the cracked windshield I hadn't fixed because Sarah needed a Kaplan review course, and I just stared at the steering wheel. I did not go back inside. To understand why that moment broke me, you have to understand the beginning. You have to understand that I was not just a boyfriend. I was the foundation upon which she built this new life. We met 4 years ago. I was 24, she was 22. Sarah was working as a barista at a coffee shop I stopped at every morning before heading to the job site. I was an HVAC technician. It is hard work, dirty work sometimes, crawling into crawl spaces and wrestling with compressors on blistering rooftops, but it pays well if you are willing to grind. I was willing. Sarah was vibrant. That is the only word for it. She had this energy that made you want to be near her. We started chatting. First about the weather, then about her life. She told me she felt stuck. She had a degree in English that she wasn't using, and she felt like she was wasting her potential pouring lattes for ungrateful commuters. I asked her out. We went to a simple dinner at a Mexican place. She talked for 2 hours straight about her dreams. She wanted to help people. She wanted a career that mattered. She wanted respect. I fell in love with her ambition. I am a simple guy. I like fixing things. I like seeing a problem and making it work again. Sarah was complex. She wanted to fix the world, or at least the people in it. We moved in together 6 months later. It was fast, but it felt right. We got a decent 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood. The rent was a stretch, but with both of us working, we could manage. We split everything 50-50. It was a partnership. Then came the conversation. It was a Tuesday night. Sarah was crying when I got home from work. She had had a rude customer who threw a drink at her. "I can't do this anymore, Mark," she sobbed into my chest. "I feel worthless. I want to go to nursing school." I looked into the accelerated program at the university. It is 12 months of prerequisites and then 2 intense years of clinicals and classes. "You should do it," I said immediately. "You are smart. You would be a great nurse." She pulled back and looked at me, her eyes red. "I can't. The tuition is expensive, but that isn't even the biggest problem. The advisors said I cannot work while in the program. It is too demanding. I would have to quit my job. I have no savings, Mark. I can't pay my half of the rent or buy food if I am not working." I looked around our apartment. I looked at her. I did the math in my head. I was making decent money, but supporting 2 adults in a major city on 1 HVAC salary would be tight. It would mean no vacations. No eating out. No new clothes. It would mean picking up every overtime shift and weekend call I could get. But I loved her. And I believed in us. I thought we were building a future where eventually she would be making great money as a nurse, and I would have my business, and we would be a power couple. "I will pay for it," I said. Sarah shook her head. "No, Mark. That is too much. It's thousands of dollars for living expenses alone." "We are a team," I told her. I took her hands. "I will cover the rent. I will cover the bills. I will cover the food. You just focus on school. You get those grades. You become the best nurse out there. And when you graduate, you can take me on a fancy vacation." She cried again, but this time they were happy tears. She promised me that she would never forget this. She promised that this was an investment in us. That was the contract. It was never written down. It was signed with a kiss and a promise in our living room. I did not know then that contracts without signatures are just wishes waiting to be crushed. The first year, the prerequisite year, was actually okay. She was taking anatomy, microbiology, Chemistry. She was still working part-time on weekends, just for a little pocket money, though I paid all the major bills. We were still us. We watched movies on Friday nights. We cooked dinner together. She would show me her flashcards and I would quiz her on the Krebs cycle, mispronouncing every other word, and we would laugh. The dynamic shifted when the actual nursing program started. She quit the coffee shop entirely. Her schedule became erratic. Classes all day, studying all night. The stress levels spiked. I remember the first time I felt the separation. It was a Friday night, about 3 months into her first true semester. I had worked a 60-hour week. My back was screaming. I had spent 2 days in an attic installing a new furnace in July heat. I was dehydrated and exhausted. I came home with a pizza, thinking we could just relax. Sarah was at the kitchen table, books spread out everywhere. Her laptop was open. She was on a video call with 3 other students. "Hey babe," I said, putting the pizza on the counter. "Dinner." She turned around and shushed me. "Mark, I am in a study group. Keep it down." I stood there, the pizza box warm in my hands. "Sorry. I just thought." "We have a pathophysiology exam on Monday," she hissed, covering her microphone. "I cannot break focus right now. Just eat without me." I ate 3 slices of pepperoni pizza alone on the couch, watching a rerun of a sitcom with the volume turned down low so I wouldn't disturb her. When she finally finished at 11 p.m., she walked into the living room, rubbed her eyes, and sighed. "There is pizza left," I offered. "I can't eat that grease," she said, looking at the box with disgust. "I need real food. Brain food. Did you not go grocery shopping?" "I was working," I said gently. "I worked till 7. "Well, I was working too," she snapped. "Studying is work, Mark. It is harder than fixing air conditioners. I am learning how to save lives." That was the first jab. Harder than fixing air conditioners. I let it slide. She was stressed. I told myself it was the stress talking. I went to the kitchen and made her a scrambled egg and toast because it was the only healthy thing we had. She ate it without saying thank you and went to bed. By the second year, I had become a ghost in my own relationship. I was picking up every on-call shift available. That meant my phone could ring at 2 a.m., and I had to go fix a walk-in freezer at a restaurant or an AC unit at a nursing home. I was tired all the time. I looked ragged. My hands were permanently stained with grease and dust. Sarah, conversely, was evolving. She was surrounded by medical professionals. She started using terminology I didn't understand. She started hanging out with her cohort more and more. There was a Friday specifically that stands out. It was her birthday. I had saved up to buy her a nice necklace, nothing extravagant, but a silver locket with her initials. I had made a reservation at a steakhouse she used to love. I came home early to shower and get ready. The apartment was empty. There was a note on the counter. "Going for drinks with the cohort after clinicals to debrief. Don't wait up. We will do dinner another time." I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted her. "Happy birthday. I have reservations at 7. Are you coming?" She didn't reply until 9:30 p.m. "Sorry. Totally lost track of time. We are at a bar downtown. You can come if you want, but we are just talking shop. You might be bored." I didn't go. I sat in the dark and canceled the reservation. When she came home at 2 a.m., she smelled like gin and expensive perfume. She didn't even ask if I was mad. She just flopped onto the bed and passed out. The next morning, I tried to talk to her. "Sarah, I planned a whole evening for your birthday," I said. She was nursing a hangover, drinking the coffee I had brewed for her. "I know, Mark. I'm sorry. But you have to understand. The bond you form in nursing school, it's trauma bonding. Civilians don't get it." "Civilians?" I asked. "I'm your boyfriend, not a civilian in a war zone." She rolled her eyes. "You know what I mean. My friends understand the pressure. Talking to them helps me survive. Talking to you is nice, but you can't relate to the difference between respiratory acidosis and alkalosis." "I relate to paying the rent so you can learn about it," I said. It was the first time I had thrown the money in her face. She went cold. "Oh, so that's it? You're going to hold that over my head? I thought you were doing this because you loved me. If I knew there were strings attached, I would have taken out loans. I backpedaled immediately. I was terrified of losing her. I apologized. I told her I was just tired. I was the one who ended up comforting her because she felt guilty about not contributing. That was the dynamic. She would pull away, I would get hurt, I would express that hurt, she would turn it into me not being supportive enough, and I would apologize. The money situation was getting worse. Inflation was hitting hard. Our rent went up by $200 a month. My truck needed a new transmission, which was $2,800. I didn't have it because I had just paid her semester fees, which the financial aid didn't fully cover. I sold my motorcycle. It was a 2015 Harley Sportster. I loved that bike. It was my one toy. I sold it for cash to a guy on Craigslist and used the money to fix the truck and pay the rent. When I told Sarah, she barely looked up from her textbook. That's probably for the best, she said. Motorcycles are donor cycles anyway. We see so many accidents in the ER. It was irresponsible to have one. She didn't say thank you. She didn't acknowledge the sacrifice. She just framed it as me finally growing up. Then came Jason. Jason appeared in the stories around the start of the third year. Jason said this in lecture. Jason got the highest score on the mock NCLEX. Jason is so funny. Who is Jason? I asked one night while doing the dishes. She was sitting on the couch, texting. He's just a guy in my clinical group, she said, not looking up. He was a medic in the army before this. He's super smart. Is he single? I asked, trying to sound casual. She scoffed. God, Mark. You are so insecure. He is a friend. We study together. That is it. Why do you always have to make it weird? I'm not making it weird. You just talk about him a lot. Because I spend 12 hours a day with him, she shouted. We are in the trenches together. Stop being jealous. It is unattractive. I stopped asking about Jason, but I started noticing things. She bought new underwear, lace, expensive. She started wearing makeup to study sessions. She put a passcode on her phone, which she had never done before. I told myself I was crazy. I told myself to trust the process. We were almost there. Just a few more months. The graduation party planning began 2 months before the date. Sarah wanted a big bash. She wanted to rent a hall. She wanted a DJ. She wanted catering. We can't afford that, Sarah, I told her, looking at our bank account. I had $400 in checking. But you don't understand, she pleaded. This is a huge milestone. My parents are coming down. My whole cohort is doing it together. We are pooling money, but my share is $1,500. I don't have $1,500 extra right now, I said. She cried for 2 days. She moped. She told me she would just not go. She said she would be the only one sitting at home while everyone else celebrated their success. I broke. I took a cash advance on my credit card. The interest rate was predatory, something like 24%. I handed her the cash. You are the best, she said, hugging me tightly. It was the first real affection I had felt in months. I promise, once I start working, I will pay this all off. We will be rich. We will laugh about this. I held on to that promise. It was the life raft I clung to while I drowned in debt. Which brings us back to the parking lot. I sat in my truck for an hour. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah. Where did you go? People are asking. I stared at the screen. People were asking. Not I am worried about you. Not come back, I love you. Just a concern for appearances. I typed back, I'm not feeling well. Went home. She replied instantly, Kay. Don't wait up. We are going clubbing after this. Roommate. The word echoed in the cab of the truck. I drove home in silence. I walked into our apartment. It was messy. Her books were still stacked on the dining table. Her dirty scrubs from yesterday were on the floor of the bathroom. The sink was full of dishes I hadn't washed yet because I had rushed home to change for the party. I looked at the apartment with new eyes. This wasn't a home. This was a hotel I was paying for. I was the staff. I was the financier. I was the roommate. I didn't destroy anything. I didn't scream. A cold, hard clarity settled over me. It was the same feeling I get when I look at a broken AC unit and realize the compressor is shot and the whole system needs to be replaced. You don't cry over the machine. You rip it out. I went to the bedroom and pulled my suitcase from the closet. I packed my clothes. I packed my toiletries. I packed the PlayStation I hadn't played in a year. I packed my tools that I kept in the hall closet. I loaded my truck. It took 3 trips. The neighbors watched me, but I didn't care. Then I sat down at the kitchen table with a notepad. I wrote a breakdown. Rent, 36 months $54,000 utilities, 36 months $7,200 groceries, approximate $15,000 tuition, books fees, paid directly $12,000 car repairs/gas for you, $4,000 graduation party, $1,500. Total investment, $93,700. Return on investment, roommate. I left the note on the table. I left my key on top of the note. I drove to my brother's house. He lives 40 minutes away. He opened the door at 11 p.m., saw the suitcase, saw my face, and didn't ask a single question. He just stepped aside and let me in. He handed me a beer and we sat on his porch in silence for a long time. She graduated? He asked finally. Yep. And? She introduced me to her professors as her roommate. My brother, a man who rarely swears, let out a string of expletives that would make a sailor blush. You're done. I'm done. I slept on his couch. I slept better than I had in 3 years. The next morning, my phone blew up. 17 missed calls from Sarah. 30 texts. Where are your things? This isn't funny, Mark. Pick up the phone. You can't just leave. How am I supposed to pay rent next week? That last text was the one that killed the last lingering ember of love I had for her. How am I supposed to pay rent? Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry. Just panic about the resource stream drying up. I texted her back once. I'm just a roommate, Sarah. Roommates move out. Good luck with your nursing career. You're independent now. Just like you wanted. Then I blocked her number. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But life isn't a movie where you walk away and the credits roll. 3 days later, I was at work. I was on a roof, fixing a condenser unit, when my boss called me down. There's a lady here to see you, Mark, he said, looking uncomfortable. I climbed down the ladder. Sarah was standing in the parking lot of the HVAC company. She was wearing her scrubs. She looked tired, but also furious. Unblock me, she demanded, crossing her arms. No, I said, wiping my hands on a rag. What do you want, Sarah? You can't just abandon me. We have a lease. Correction, I said calmly. I am on the lease. You are listed as an occupant. I spoke to the landlord yesterday. I paid the lease break fee. It cost me 2 months' rent, but I'm off the hook as of the 1st of the month. You have 10 days to either sign a new lease in your name or vacate. Her face went pale. I can't sign a lease. I don't have proof of income yet. I haven't started my job. My start date isn't for 3 weeks. Ask Jason, I said. Her eyes narrowed. What? Jason. The guy you were giggling with. The guy you humiliated me in front of. Ask him. Or ask your parents. They were so proud of you. Surely they can help. You are being a petty jerk, she spat. I introduced you that way because it is professional. I couldn't introduce you as my boyfriend who fixes air conditioners to the chief of nursing. It looks bad. I have to maintain an image, Mark. You are blue collar. It doesn't fit the aesthetic of where I am going. There it was. The truth. Naked and ugly. The aesthetic, I repeated. My blue-collar money was green enough to pay for your aesthetic for 3 years, Sarah. My sweat paid for that dress you wore. My broken back paid for your books. That's what partners do, she screamed. They support each other. Partners, I said, stepping closer to her. Partners acknowledge each other. Partners don't hide each other like a dirty secret. You didn't want a partner, Sarah. You wanted a sponsor. And the sponsorship is over. I turned to walk away. "I will sue you," she screamed at my back. "We had a verbal contract." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Go ahead. Sue me. Explain to a judge how I paid for everything for 3 years and you repaid me by pretending I didn't exist. I have the bank statements, Sarah. I have the receipts. Do you really want to go there?" She didn't say anything. I got back on the ladder and went back to work. The next few weeks were a blur of logistics. I stayed with my brother. I worked double shifts, not to support her, but to rebuild my own savings. I felt lighter. The exhaustion was still there, but it was a good exhaustion. It was honest. I heard through mutual friends that Sarah had to move back in with her parents. Apparently, Jason wasn't interested in a roommate who couldn't pay her own way. He was looking for a fun fling, not a dependent. It's been 6 months now. I have my own place. It's a small studio, but it's mine. I bought a new motorcycle, a Triumph this time. I ride on weekends. I still have debt. The credit card I maxed out for her party is still lingering, but I'm chipping away at it. Every payment is a reminder of the lesson I learned. Last week, I ran into Mrs. Gable, the nursing instructor, at the grocery store. I was in my work uniform, name on my chest. She recognized me. She stopped her cart. "Mark, isn't it?" she asked. "Sarah's roommate." I looked at her. I smiled. "Actually, Mrs. Gable, I was her fiancé. I paid for her school. I paid her rent. I supported her for 3 years. She introduced me as her roommate because she was ashamed of me." Mrs. Gable's eyes went wide. She looked shocked. "Oh," she said. "Oh my. But don't worry," I said cheerfully. "I'm not her roommate anymore." I walked away. It felt petty, sure, but it also felt fantastic. I checked Sarah's social media yesterday, a moment of weakness. She posted a photo of herself in her scrubs, looking tired, with the caption, "Nursing is so hard. The bills are piling up. Wish I had someone to help with the load. #struggle #independent woman." I laughed. I put my phone down. I went to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and sat on my balcony. I am not rich. I am not a doctor or a nurse. I fix things that are broken. And for the first time in a long time, I am fixing myself. The tragedy isn't that I lost 3 years or $90,000. The tragedy is that she had a man who would have walked through fire for her, who would have clapped the loudest when she won, who would have built her a castle with his bare hands. And she traded him for a title and an aesthetic. She wanted to be a nurse to save lives. But she didn't know the first thing about how to treat a human being. I'm dating again, slowly. I met a girl named Emily. She's a teacher. On our first date, the check came. I reached for it out of habit. "Let's split it," Emily said. "I work hard for my money, and I like to pay my way." I almost cried right there in the Olive Garden. "Sounds like a plan," I said. We split the check. And it was the most romantic transaction of my life. So to anyone out there supporting a partner through a major life change, watch how they treat you when they think no one important is looking. Watch how they speak about you to their new peers. And if they ever introduce you as a roommate, don't wait for the party to end. Pack your bags. And don't look back. Part 2, the fallout and the reconciliation attempt. I thought the confrontation in the parking lot was the climax. I thought the universe would let me fade into my new life while Sarah dealt with the consequences of hers. But narcissists do not let go that easily. They need to control the narrative. 2 weeks after the parking lot incident, I got a call from my mother. My mother is a saint, but she is also a peacemaker who believes love conquers all. She didn't know the full details, just that we had broken up. "Mark," she said, her voice hesitant. "Sarah called me." My stomach tightened. "Why is she calling you, Mom?" She was crying. "She said you threw her out on the street. She said you became abusive and controlling with money, and she had to lie to her friends to protect herself. She said she misses you and wants to go to counseling." I saw red. I physically shook with rage. "Abusive? Controlling?" "Mom," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Did she tell you about the $90,000? "What $90,000? "The money I spent on her, Mom. The rent. The tuition. The food. Did she tell you that she introduced me as her roommate to her entire graduating class because I wear work boots? My mother was silent. She said you were exaggerating that. She said it was a joke that didn't land. It wasn't a joke, I said. Mom, I need you to block her number. Please. She is trying to manipulate you to get to me. I just hate to see you hurt, my mom said. I am hurt because of her. Not because she is gone. I spent the next 3 hours putting together a PDF. I am an HVAC guy, but I know how to use a scanner. I scanned the lease agreements showing I paid the full amount. I downloaded the bank statements highlighting the transfers to her account. I took screenshots of the texts where she asked for money for books, for scrubs, for the party. I redacted the account numbers, but left the dates and amounts. Then I wrote a Facebook post. I am a private person. I rarely post. But she was slandering me to my own family. She was telling mutual friends I was financially abusive. She was destroying my reputation to salvage hers. I titled the post, "The Cost of a Roommate." I wrote everything. I didn't use emotional language. I didn't call her names. I just laid out the timeline. Date, we agreed I support her. Date, she quits job. Date, I sell my motorcycle to pay her tuition. Date, she introduces me as roommate. Date, she asks for rent money after I leave. I attached the redacted documents. I tagged no one. I just posted it. It went nuclear. Our small town is gossipy. Within an hour, I had 50 comments. People who knew me, people who knew her. Wait, Mark paid for everything? Sarah told us she was on a scholarship. Dude, you sold your Harley for her? I was at that party. It was super awkward. She totally ignored him. Then the messages from her nursing cohort started coming in. People she had tagged in her graduation photos. One girl, Jessica, messaged me, "Hey Mark, I don't know you well, but I'm in Sarah's cohort. She told us all that you were her landlord and that you were creepy and hitting on her. We had no idea you were together. She accepted money from our study group for lunch because she said she was broke and alone. We feel used. She had been grifting everyone. She played the poor student to them, and the supportive partner to me. Sarah called me an hour later. I didn't answer. She texted, "Take it down. Now. You are ruining my career before it starts." I replied, "Truth is a defense against libel, Sarah. You told my mom I was abusive. I corrected the record. Good luck." She reported the post to Facebook for harassment. They took it down 24 hours later, but the damage was done. Screenshots live forever. I found out later that Jason, the work husband, saw the screenshots. He apparently has a very strict moral code about financial dishonesty. He ghosted her completely. The Real kicker came a month later. I was at a bar with some buddies, watching a football game. I looked up and saw Sarah's father walking in. Mr. Henderson was a man who always looked at me like I was stealing his silverware. He was a corporate lawyer. He had always made subtle digs about my job. Honest work, he would say, with a tone that implied simple work for simple minds. He saw me. He stopped. He walked over to my table. My friends went quiet, sensing the tension. "Mark," he said. "Mr. Henderson," I nodded. I didn't stand up. "I saw the post," he said stiffly, "before it was removed." "Okay. Is it true?" he asked. "The figures. Down to the cent." He sighed. He looked older than I remembered. Sarah told us she was paying her way with a consulting gig online. She told us she didn't need our help. We were proud of her independence. "She wasn't independent," I said. "She was dependent on me." "I see." He pulled out a checkbook. My jaw tightened. "I don't want your money, sir." "It's not charity," he said, uncapping a fountain pen. "It's a debt. The Henderson family pays its debts. If my daughter defrauded you, I will make it right." "I don't want it," I repeated firmly. "I want nothing to do with your family. I paid for an education. Consider it a donation to the healthcare system." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he put the pen away. "You're a better man than she deserves," he said quietly. "I am sorry for how she treated you. And I am sorry for how I treated you." He walked away. I never got the money back. I didn't want it. Taking his check would have felt like a payoff to go away. Leaving it on the table meant I retained the moral high ground. It meant my silence couldn't be bought. Sarah is working at a hospital 2 towns over now. I hear she is struggling. The nursing reality, the poop, the vomit, the long hours, isn't as glamorous as the aesthetic she wanted. She rents a room in a shared house with 3 other people. Actual roommates. I hope she introduces them correctly. As for me, I got my contractor's license last month. I started my own LLC, Mark's Heating and Cooling. I have 2 trucks now. I have an apprentice. I am building something real. Something that stands on its own foundation. And the next time I wear a suit, it will be at my own wedding, to a woman who introduces me by my name, looking me in the eye, holding my hand tight enough to let the world know, he is mine and I am his. And that is worth more than any degree on the wall. End of story. My wife said she needed space and took our savings. I let her go, then bought back the house she tried to sell. I am looking at a bank balance of $0. Zero. A big fat, round nothing where $45,000 used to be. That money was for the roof replacement. It was for the emergency fund. It was 10 years of skipped vacations, bagged lunches, and overtime shifts. Gone in a single wire transfer while I was at work. When I walked through the front door an hour ago, the house felt different. You know that feeling when the air pressure changes right before a storm? It was like that. The silence was heavy. Her keys were gone from the bowl. Her shoes were missing from the rack. I went to the bedroom, and the closet was half empty. No note on the pillow. No dramatic letter on the kitchen counter. Just a text message I received 3 minutes after I realized the money was gone. I need space. Please don't call me. I'll explain when I'm ready. I've been sitting on the edge of the bed for 40 minutes. I haven't taken off my work boots. I haven't screamed. I haven't cried. I'm just doing the math. 12 years of marriage. $45,000. 1 house. And 1 wife who apparently decided that space costs exactly the amount of our life savings. I am not a violent man. I am not a loud man. I am a planner. And as I sit here staring at the empty hangars where her sundresses used to be, I am not planning how to get her back. I am planning how to survive what comes next. Because if she thinks she can dismantle my life with a text message and a wire transfer, she has severely underestimated the man she married. Part 1. The Exodus. Let's back up. I need to get this down while the details are fresh, and honestly, I need a record of reality because I feel like I'm losing my mind. My name is Mark. I'm 34. My wife, let's call her Sarah, is 32. We met in college. We were the boring couple. The stable couple. We didn't have blowout fights. We didn't break up and get back together. We were just solid. Or so I thought. For the last 6 months, Sarah has been different. Not bad, just distant. She started going to the gym 5 nights a week. She changed her wardrobe, swapping the comfortable jeans and tees for stuff that looked expensive but uncomfortable. She locked her phone. Standard red flags, I know. I'm not an idiot. I asked her about it. I asked her if she was happy. I'm just working on myself, Mark, she said. I feel like I lost who I was in this marriage. I need to find my identity again. I supported her. I thought, okay, we married young. Maybe she's having a crisis. I picked up more chores. I cooked dinner so she could go to her spin classes. I told her if she wanted to take a trip with the girls, she should go. I tried to be the supportive husband. I tried to be the rock. Turns out, being a rock just makes you easy to step on. The transfer happened at 10:15 a.m. I was in a meeting. It was a joint savings account. We both had full access. That's the kicker. It's not theft in the eyes of the bank. It's a withdrawal by an authorized user. I called the bank immediately after seeing the notification. The teller was sympathetic but useless. Sir, since her name is on the account, she has every right to withdraw the funds. It's a civil matter. A civil matter. That's a nice way of saying you're screwed. I called Sarah. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No reply. I called her sister, Emily. Emily picked up on the second ring, sounding breathless. Mark? Look, I can't talk right now. Where is she, Emily? She's safe. She just needs time. She told you she needs space. She took 45 grand, Emily. That's not space. That's a robbery. Silence on the other end. Then Emily's voice, harder this time. It's her money too, Mark. She contributed to that marriage for 12 years. She needs a safety net. She's scared. Scared of what? Me? I've never raised a hand to her. I've never even yelled at her. Scared of the future. Scared of being trapped. Look, just give her a few days. Don't make this ugly. She hung up. I put the phone down and walked through the house. We bought this place 5 years ago. It was a fixer-upper. A wreck, really. We got it cheap because it smelled like cat pee and had water damage in the basement. I spent every weekend for 3 years renovating this place. I laid the hardwood floors myself. I built the deck. I tiled the bathroom. Sarah helped paint, sure, but this house has my sweat in the drywall. It has my blood on the framing nails. And now she has the cash, and I have the mortgage. I didn't sleep that first night. I sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the street. I kept expecting her car to pull up. I kept expecting a text saying it was a mistake, a panic attack, anything. But the phone stayed dark. By morning, the shock had worn off, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. If she wanted a war, she was going to get one. But I wasn't going to fight with shouting matches and emotional pleas. I was going to fight with logistics. I went to work. I didn't tell anyone. I did my job. I came home. I opened a new bank account at a different bank solely in my name. I routed my direct deposit there immediately. I canceled the joint credit cards. I changed the passwords on the Netflix, the Amazon, the utilities. 3 days later, the first real contact came. Not from Sarah, but from a process server. I was served with divorce papers at my front door on a Tuesday evening. The grounds were irreconcilable differences. Standard. But the demands in the initial filing were bold. She wanted alimony. She wanted half the value of the house. And of course, there was no mention of the $45,000 she had already pocketed. I called a lawyer the next morning. His name is David. He's expensive, aggressive, and hates nonsense. I sat in his office, showed him the bank statements, the texts, the timeline. David leaned back in his chair, tenting his fingers. Okay, Mark. Here's the reality. The money in the joint account is marital property. She took it, but the court will eventually account for it in the final split. Basically, that $45K is an advance on her share of the assets. We will make sure of that. I don't care about the cash as much as the house, I said. I built this place. I don't want to sell it. David sighed. That's going to be the problem. Unless you have the cash to buy her out of her equity share, the court will likely order the house sold so the proceeds can be split. And since she took the cash savings, you probably don't have the liquidity to pay her off right now, do you? He was right. I was cash poor. My equity was locked in the walls of the house. Sarah knew that. She took the liquid assets to force my hand. She knew I couldn't pay her off without selling the house. She was forcing a sale. She wanted to cash out completely, burn it all down and walk away with a check. She wants to sell, I realized aloud. She wants to force me out. It looks that way, David said. She's banking on you being emotional. She thinks you'll panic and agree to a quick sale just to get it over with. I looked at David. What if I agreed to sell? He frowned. I thought you wanted to keep it. I do. But she doesn't know that. She thinks I'm desperate. She thinks I'm broke. If we list the house, she'll want a quick sale, right? She needs that money to fund whatever new life she's chasing. David nodded slowly. Usually, yes. The spouse who leaves is often the one pushing for a fast closing. So, I said, a plan forming in the back of my mind. Let's give her what she wants. Let's put the house on the market. Part 2, The Gray Rock. For the next 3 weeks, I practiced what the internet calls the gray rock method. I became as boring and unreactive as a stone. Sarah tried to provoke me. She texted me about our furniture. She texted me asking why the Netflix password didn't work. She texted me saying I was being petty about the credit cards. I responded with one-word answers. Okay. No. Yes. She hated it. I could tell. She wanted a fight. She wanted me to call her screaming so she could tell everyone I was abusive and unstable. She needed to justify her exit. If I was a monster, then stealing the savings and abandoning the marriage was an act of survival. If I was just a calm, reasonable guy, she was just a thief. I finally agreed to meet her to discuss the house. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral ground. She looked different. She had cut her hair. She was wearing a leather jacket I'd never seen before. She looked like she was trying to be 22 again. She sat down and didn't make eye contact. Look, Mark, I just want to move on. I know you're hurt. I'm not hurt, Sarah, I lied. I'm just practical. You filed. You took the money. Clearly, we are done. She flinched at the mention of the money. That was for my security. I knew you'd cut me off. I didn't cut you off until you emptied the account. But that's for the lawyers to handle. We're here to talk about the house. I want to sell it, she said quickly. I don't want it. Too many bad memories. Bad memories? Of what? The time we built the patio together? The movie nights? The safety? I can't afford to buy you out, I said, playing the defeated victim. You have all the cash. I can't get a loan for your half of the equity right now. She tried to hide a smile. She thought she had one. Then we list it. We sell it, split the proceeds 50/50ths, and go our separate ways. It's the cleanest break. Fine, I said. We list it. I want to use my friend Jessica as the realtor, she said. No, I countered. We use a neutral third party. Someone neither of us knows. I won't have your friend manipulating the price. She argued, but eventually conceded. She just wanted the process started. She was burning through that $45,000 faster than she expected, I guessed. Hotels and new wardrobes aren't cheap. We hired a realtor named Gary. Nice guy, aggressive sales type. He walked through the house and gave us a valuation. It was high. The market was hot. The work I had done had added significant value. I can get this moved in 30 days, Gary said. Maybe less. Sarah's eyes lit up. Let's do it. I signed the listing agreement. I watched the sign go up in the yard. It felt like a punch to the gut. This was my home. This was the only thing I had left. But I had to trust the plan. I called my brother, Sam. Sam is the opposite of me. He's loud, he's in sales, and he has zero filter. But he's loyal to a fault. She's actually doing it? Sam asked. She's selling the house out from under you? We're selling it together, I corrected. But listen, Sam. I need a favor. A big one. And you can never tell anyone about this. Not Mom, not your girlfriend, nobody. I'm listening. I need you to buy my house. Sam laughed. Mark, I love you, but I don't have $500,000. You don't need it. I'm going to set up an LLC. I'm going to get a hard money loan to fund the purchase. I just need you to be the face. You're the manager of the LLC. You go to the showings. You make the offer. She knows you, so we have to be careful, but the LLC will be named something generic. Clearwater Ventures or something. Your name won't appear on the initial offer, just the corporate entity. Wait, Sam said. If she sees me at the open house, she'll know. You don't go to the open house. You send a representative. A lawyer. We hire someone to stand in. The offer comes from the company. Sarah just wants the money. She won't care who the buyer is as long as the check clears. This is risky, Mark. It's the only way. If I buy it as myself, she'll jack up the price or refuse to sell just to spite me. She wants me homeless. She wants to win. If she thinks she's selling to a stranger, she'll take the market value. And the money? How do you pay for it? I'm cashing out my 401k. I'm taking the penalty. I'm borrowing against my truck. And the $45K she took? My lawyer says we'll get credit for that in the final divorce decree. So when the house sells, the proceeds are split, but her share gets docked by the amount she stole plus her share of the debt. I'll essentially be paying myself back with the loan, and then refinancing once the house is in my name solely. It was a financial tightrope. If I fell, I'd be bankrupt. No house, no retirement, massive debt. But the anger was a powerful fuel. I wasn't just fighting for bricks and mortar. I was fighting for dignity. Part 3, The Showings. The next month was hell. I had to keep the house pristine while living in it. Sarah refused to help clean, of course. She was staying in a short-term rental apartment, funded by our savings. She would show up occasionally to grab more things or check on the process, usually when I was at work. Gary, the realtor, held an open house. I had to leave for the day. I sat in a park, wondering strangers were walking through my bedroom, judging my life. That evening, Gary called us. Conference call. Good news, Gary said. We have 3 offers. My heart hammered. Okay, let's hear them. Offer 1 is $10,000 under asking. FHA loan, so closing will take 45 days. Nice family. No, Sarah said immediately. Too slow. Too low. Offer 2 is asking price. Conventional loan. 30-day close. Better, Sarah said. Offer 3, Gary said, is from an investment group. Clearwater Holdings, LLC. They're offering asking price. All cash. 2-week close. They want to flip it or rent it out, I guess. No inspection contingency. All cash. Sarah's voice pitched up. No inspection? That's what it says, Gary confirmed. Take it, Sarah said. Mark, we have to take that one. It's guaranteed money. We can be done in 2 weeks. I pretended to hesitate. I don't know. Investors usually try to nickel and dime you at the last second. Are we sure they're legit? Gary says they have proof of funds. Sarah snapped. Don't be difficult, Mark. Just sign the paper. Don't you want this over with? I do, I said. But I built this place. I hate the idea of some corporation turning it into a rental. Who cares, she said. It's just a house. Take the money. It's just a house. That phrase sealed her fate. Fine, I sighed. If it gets us divorced faster, let's do it. We accepted the offer. The next 2 weeks were a blur of paperwork. I was coordinating with David, my lawyer, Sam, my brother acting as the LLC manager on paper, and a separate real estate attorney I hired to represent the LLC so no one would connect the dots. The hardest part was the funding. I decimated my retirement accounts. I took a high-interest bridge loan from a private lender David knew. It was terrifying. I was leveraging every single cent I had or could borrow. If the deal fell through, or if Sarah sniffed it out, I was ruined. But Sarah was distracted. I found out through mutual friends she was dating a guy named Chad. I know you can't make this up. He was a personal trainer at her gym. The timeline was suspicious, to say the least. It made sense now. The space, the gym obsession, the new clothes. She was bankrolling a romance with my retirement fund. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't confront her. I let her think she was getting away with it. Part 4, The Closing. Closing day arrived. Because it was a cash deal and we were sellers, we didn't even have to be in the same room as the buyer. We just went to the title company office to sign our side of the paperwork. Sarah was there before me. She looked radiant. Triumphant. She was tapping away on her phone, probably texting Chad about the payday coming. I sat down across from her. The title agent, a woman named Linda, slid the stack of papers toward us. Okay, this is the deed transfer. This is the settlement statement. We signed. Page after page. Then came the distribution of funds. Okay, Linda said. The sale price is $520,000. After paying off the existing mortgage, commissions, and fees, the net proceeds are roughly $310,000. Sarah smiled. She was doing the math. $155,000 each. However, Linda continued, looking at a document from David, There is a lien/adjustment noted here regarding the divorce settlement stipulation? Sarah froze. What stipulation? David had filed an emergency motion 3 days prior, and because Sarah's lawyer was lazy, they hadn't fully contested it yet. We had agreed that the proceeds would be held in escrow until the final divorce decree, except for a disbursement to Sarah minus the funds she already withdrew. The $45,000 withdrawn previously is deducted from Mrs. Sarah's share, Linda explained. So the split is adjusted. Sarah turned to me, eyes blazing. You said we were splitting it 50/50ths. We are, I said calmly. You already took your $45K. You just took it early. Remember? For space. She turned red. She couldn't argue it without admitting she took the money. And she couldn't stop the sale now, she had already signed the deed. If she blew up the deal, she got zero today. Fine, she hissed. Just give me the check. She walked out with a check for about $110,000. A huge sum, sure. But she had lost the house, lost her husband, and lost the moral high ground. I walked out with nothing but a promise of funds being wired to my account, which I would immediately turn around and use to pay back the bridge loan I had taken to buy the house. The house was sold to Clearwater Ventures, LLC. Technically, I was now homeless. I stayed at a motel that night. It was the weirdest feeling. I owned the house, via the LLC, but I couldn't move back in yet without raising suspicion. I had to wait for the new owners to take possession. I gave it 3 days. Part 5, The Return. On Saturday morning, I drove my truck back to the house. The sold sign was still in the yard. I pulled into the driveway. I unlocked the front door with the key the title company had given the buyer. The house was empty. Echoing. It felt cold. I sat on the floor of the living room and ate a sandwich. I was exhausted. I was broke. My 401k was gone. I had a massive loan to refinance. But I was home. I spent the weekend moving my stuff back in from storage. I didn't unpack everything. I just set up the bedroom and the kitchen. Sunday night, my phone rang. It was Sarah. Why is your truck in the driveway? My stomach dropped. She must have driven by. I'm moving some things out, I lied. Leftover junk in the garage. The new owners are okay with that? She asked, suspicious. They haven't moved in yet. They gave me the weekend to clear the garage. Hurry up, she said. I don't want them suing us. Don't worry, Sarah. I'm handling it. The divorce proceeded. It was ugly. Sarah blew through her money faster than I thought possible. Chad, it turned out, had a lot of business ideas that needed funding. A crypto investment. A supplement line. A leased BMW. 6 months passed. The divorce was finalized. I kept the LLC hidden. As far as the court knew, the house was sold to a third party. The proceeds were split. The marriage was dissolved. I eventually refinanced the house from the LLC to my own name. It was a paperwork headache, and I had to pay transfer taxes again, which hurt, but it was worth it to clear the title. By then, Sarah was long gone. She and Chad had moved to a flashy apartment downtown. I blocked her number. I blocked her socials. I focused on rebuilding my savings. Then came the crash. Part 6, The Aftermath. About 8 months after the divorce, I was in the grocery store. I turned down the cereal aisle and almost collided with her. Sarah. She looked tired. The leather jacket was gone, replaced by a worn hoodie. She wasn't wearing makeup. She looked 5 years older. She saw me and froze. Then, her eyes welled up. Mark. Sarah. I didn't know you shopped here. I live in the neighborhood, I said. She looked confused. I thought you moved. After the house sold. I did. Then I moved back. She frowned. Back where? To an apartment. I decided in that moment that I was done hiding. I was done protecting her feelings. No, I said. Back to the house. What? But, we sold it. You sold it, I corrected. I bought it. She blinked. What? Clearwater Ventures. That was me. Well, an LLC I created. I bought the house, Sarah. I never left. I mean, I slept in a motel for 3 days, but I live there. I'm sleeping in our bed. I'm cooking in our kitchen. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The gears were turning. She was realizing the magnitude of what had happened. She had forced a sale to get cash, only to hand the asset right back to me. But, you said you were broke, she stammered. You said you couldn't buy me out. I couldn't. Not the way you wanted. But as a distress sale? With you pushing for a quick close? I made it work. That's fraud, she shouted. A few heads turned in the aisle. No, I said calmly. It's business. We sold the house on the open market. You accepted the highest offer. You got your money. You got exactly what you wanted. You wanted to cash out. You did. You tricked me. You left me. I kept my voice low, but the anger leaked through. You emptied our savings and walked out without a word. You tried to burn my life down so you could go play house with your personal trainer. You don't get to be the victim here. She stared at me, tears streaming down her face now. Chad left me. I felt a pang of nothing. Not pity. Not joy. Just indifference. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. And I meant it in a vague human way. But not in a husband way. I have nothing, Mark. The money is gone. The apartment lease is up next month. I'm staying on Emily's couch. She looked at me with those eyes. The eyes that used to make me do anything. The eyes that made me work overtime. The eyes that made me build a deck in the summer heat. Can we talk? Maybe get coffee, she asked. I looked at her. I looked at the cart full of frozen dinners she was holding. No, I said. I don't think so. Please. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I realized it as soon as I signed those papers. I miss you. I miss home. It's not your home anymore, I said gently. It's mine. I walked around her and continued down the aisle. I didn't look back. Update 1 year later. It's been a year since that encounter in the grocery store. I wanted to give you guys an update because people keep asking how the legal side shook out. Sarah did try to sue me. Or rather, she tried to get a lawyer to sue me. She claimed I committed fraud during the divorce by hiding assets, the LLC. I had to go back to court. It was stressful, I won't lie. But David, my lawyer, was prepared. The judge looked at the timeline. The house was listed publicly. We accepted the highest offer. She received fair market value for her share. The funds used to buy the house were obtained after separation via loans that were solely in my name, my debt, not marital debt. The judge basically told her lawyer that while it was sneaky, it wasn't illegal. She wasn't defrauded of value. She got her price. The fact that I was the ultimate buyer was irrelevant to the value she received. If I had bought it for $1, she would have a case. But I paid asking price. The case was dismissed. She was ordered to pay my legal fees. Since she has no money, I'll never see a dime of that, but the victory was enough. I'm still in the house. I've repainted the bedroom. Changed the furniture. I turned her old craft room into a home office. The debt is heavy. The bridge loan was a nightmare to refinance, and my mortgage payment is double what it used to be because interest rates spiked. I'm eating a lot of ramen. I'm driving my truck until the wheels fall off. I'm working weekends. But every time I walk through the front door, I touch the door frame. I own this. The ghost of her is fading. Update 2, the unexpected knock. I didn't think I'd have more to tell, but life is funny. Last Tuesday, it was raining. I know I said I wouldn't describe the weather, but it's relevant. A car pulled up. It was Emily, Sarah's sister. I haven't spoken to Emily since the She Needs Space phone call. I opened the door. Emily stood there, looking awkward. Can I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. We stood in the entryway. She's in bad shape, Mark, Emily said. She's depressed. She can't hold down a job. She asks about you all the time. Why are you here, Emily? She needs help. She needs closure. She thinks if she can just see the house one more time, she can move on. She wants to come collect a box of old yearbooks she thinks is in the attic. There are no yearbooks, I said. I checked the attic. I cleared everything out. I sent her everything she left behind in the divorce settlement. If it wasn't in those boxes, it's gone. Mark, please. Just 5 minutes. She's my sister. She's the woman who stole my savings, I said. She's the woman who tried to force me out of my home. You defended her, Emily. You told me to give her space. Well, I gave her space. Permanent space. Emily sighed. You won, Mark. You have the house. You have the life. Can't you show a little mercy? Mercy. I laughed. It was a dark sound. Mercy would have been her leaving me $1,000 for groceries when she cleaned out the account. Mercy would have been not bringing a strange man into our marriage before she was even out the door. I don't have mercy left. I used it all up trying to understand why she did it. She made a mistake. No. Buying the wrong milk is a mistake. Betraying your husband for a year and robbing him is a choice. A series of choices. I opened the door. Get out, Emily. And tell Sarah that if she steps foot on this property, I will call the police for trespassing. That is the only interaction we will ever have again. Emily left. I watched her drive away. Then, I did something I hadn't done in 2 years. I cried. Not because I missed her, but because of the waste of it all. The absolute sheer waste of 12 years of love, burned on the altar of a midlife crisis and a personal trainer named Chad. Part 7, Moving Forward. So here I am. The king of the castle. It's a lonely kingdom sometimes. I've started dating again. Slowly. I met a woman named Jessica, ironically, not the realtor. She's a nurse. She's pragmatic. She has her own house. She knows the story. She thinks I'm a little intense about finances, but she understands. We were sitting on my back deck last week, drinking iced tea. The deck I built. It's a nice house, Jessica said. It is, I agreed. Was it worth it? She asked. The debt? The stress? The deception to buy it back? I looked at the yard. The grass I planted. The fence I repaired. It wasn't about the wood and the brick, I told her. It was about not letting the bad guy win. If she had taken the house, she would have sold it, spent the money, and eventually ended up exactly where she is now, broke and unhappy. The house would just be gone. Some stranger would be living here. By keeping it, I saved something from the fire. Jessica took my hand. Well, I'm glad you kept it. I am too. My savings account is slowly growing back. The $45K is still a painful memory, a scar on my financial history. But I learned a lesson that is worth more than money. You can't control people. You can't make them love you. You can't stop them from leaving. But you can control your assets. You can protect your ground. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't screaming or slashing tires. It's living well, in the house they tried to take from you. Final thoughts and advice. To anyone reading this who is going through the I need space phase, check your accounts. Immediately. If they need space, they usually need money to fund that space. Separate your finances. The moment the word divorce or separation floats in the air, protect yourself. Don't leave the house. Possession is 9/10 of the law. If you move out, you lose leverage. Get a shark of a lawyer. Nice lawyers finish last. Let them think they're winning. Sarah's downfall was arrogance. She thought I was weak because I was quiet. She thought she was smart because she was loud. I saw Sarah one last time, from a distance. I was at a stoplight. She was waiting at the bus stop. She looked ordinary. Just a woman in a coat, waiting for a bus. The monster I had built in my head shrank back down to human size. She wasn't a villain. She was just a person who made a selfish bet and lost. The light turned green. I drove on. I went home. I mowed the lawn. I fixed a leaky faucet. I lived my life. The house always wins. And this time, I'm the house. End of saga. Comment section highlights. Simulated context for Reddit style. User_deleted. This is legendary. The LLC move is risky as hell, but glad it paid off. OP reply. It was terrifying. I barely slept for 2 months. But the alternative was losing everything. Throwaway 992, why didn't you press charges for the theft? OP reply, I tried. Police said it's a civil matter since it was a joint account. Technically, she stole her own money. The system sucks. Just here for T, the fact that she wanted to come look for yearbooks. The audacity. OP reply, it wasn't about yearbooks. It was about seeing if the door was still open. It wasn't. Note to reader, this story explores the harsh reality of no-fault financial destruction in relationships. It emphasizes strategy over emotion. While the protagonist won, the cost was high, years of debt and emotional trauma. There are no perfect victories in divorce. Epilogue, the ledger. I keep a spreadsheet now. Not just of money, but of life. Assets, 1 house, 1 truck, 1 dog, adopted him last month, named him Buster. Liabilities, mortgage, trust issues. Net worth, rising. Sarah's name is nowhere on the sheet. And that is the greatest asset of all. If you are in the thick of it right now, staring at an empty bank account or a half-empty closet, breathe. Don't react. Plan. The storm passes. The house remains. Good luck out there. Mark.